I'm surprised a picture hadn't come about of that. Me sitting on a picnic table with a neck brace on.
Cigarette.
Trying to get the IV started in my arm, just smoking a cigarette. If I could get up and walk, I was getting on. Whether something was broke or not, all I knew is if I did my job and I picked the buckiness one I could get on and rode him, I was going to win.
Welcome, JB Mauney, to the Rodeo Time Podcast. Hey, if you're interested in XV Ranch apparel, JBDB apparel, the Mauney Zone t-shirts, we've even got a few posters that he signed that are left. Go to rodeotime.com. And as this podcast is releasing, we're starting Black Friday. So it's going to run from now until Cyber Monday. So for a whole week, the first week this podcast is out, it's buy one, get one on rodeotime.com. You buy a cap, you get a cap, and you get to pick the free item. You buy 5, you get 5, and you get to pick the free 5. So check out rodeotime.com, get your JB Mauney apparel along with Rodeo Time apparel. And we'd like to thank our sponsors, American Hat, Total Feeds, that JB and I share, along with my other sponsors, Can-Am, Side by Side, Rock and Roll Denim, we love that Reflex, and Mountain Ops Supplements. We'd like to thank all those guys for bringing you this podcast with JB Mauney. Let's hear from the champ. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Rodeo Time, the podcast. We're in the Dale Warehouse. We're in Winnebago, and we've got a few people in the house. We've got Mr. JB Mauney.
Well, man, I'm trying to freaking
go ahead.
A picture.
Yeah, go ahead. Find the picture. I don't know. We're pretty laid back in here. I don't know if you can tell. Corey's having a hard time with his headphones.
I'm gonna do the whole podcast like this.
There it is, with your head sideways.
What's up?
Yeah. We've got Corey Anderson in the house of Total Feeds, and I guess Harry just couldn't make it.
Harry's been on the road quite a bit. In fact, I think you saw him in Amarillo.
I did.
Yeah.
Yep. He was hanging with Clarendon College.
Yeah.
So, it was a pleasant surprise. I thought he was on the road less.
Yeah, he gets the itch to get out there because he'd put 100,000 miles on his truck every year. He used to drive from South Texas to Montana as a nutritionist, working, as a consulting nutritionist for big cattle operations all over the country. And so he never quite got that out of his system. He's 80 now. So it's not as easy, but we got him a brand new truck, and he's trying to burn it up as fast.
100,000 miles
a year
is a lot.
Yeah,
like that's like a rodeo cowboy.
Well, it's like a semi or something.
If you guys
Teamster.
If you guys didn't have to fly so much, JB, to all them PBRs, how many miles do you think you'd have put on a rig?
Oh. We'd put at least 50, 60,000 just in about 3 months during the summer run.
Yeah. Dang. Did you find that picture?
Yeah, I found you a couple, man.
JB's pulling up a picture of a rig. I don't know if y'all seen my first gen that I got redone.
The what? Oh, the what now?
Exactly.
I haven't heard about this.
I got my first gen completely remodeled. I don't know. What do you call it? Refurbished? Remodeled? What do they do to them?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Factory fab up in Hayden, Idaho. I think they're itching to do another one. JB wants to send him his work rig.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have that extended shifter.
Yeah, 10 inches. Bad shoulder.
Yeah.
You don't have to reach for it. It just sits right here.
My shifter's got about a 6-inch extension.
Now, JB, you wanted yours a little higher than Dale's, was it?
No.
What were we saying?
No. Absolutely not. I can't even get in Dale's. My legs don't go that high.
We were standing out there, and he and I in the back, and I realized to put a bale of hay in there, I'd have to have it in my face just to get to the bed.
So I kind of got like a little bit of redneck in me, I guess, because just as a kid, like I loved like lifted trucks. And I had
just jack it up.
I had an 89 Suburban that was converted to a diesel with a 12-inch lift kit. 12-inch lift kit.
We are getting redneck.
And 44-inch tires. I'll show you the picture here in a second.
Would you have a step ladder to get in and out?
Well, for the ladies, I did have a step ladder. I didn't use one, but we'd go hunting in it. I tried to run over some pigs once, just went right over the top of them. It did not. They just knocked them over. The axle just knocked them over, and they were fine. But so that's just a 4-inch lift.
Wow. I wouldn't. My 16-footer wouldn't pull behind that. It would be sitting.
Right.
Yeah, it's not real good for like a gooseneck. If you got a drop hitch for a bumper pull.
Yeah, maybe.
And despite how tall that is, your Can-Am seems to be even bigger.
Yeah, it's got 35s on it. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, the tires are bigger on the Can-Am than the Dodge.
So maybe there's a little more redneck in me than
you let on.
Than I let on. The souped up Can-Am is, but I got that one with the cab at the house. That's my baby.
Do you ever find on the road that somebody doubts your bona fides as a redneck?
Well, see, I don't ever like proudly proclaim to be redneck. I'd rather be labeled as a cowboy.
Right.
And so I try not to like let on the redneck side of me out of fear that these kids will come up and use my own medicine against me and say, hey, you ain't no cowboy.
Yeah.
Because secretly, deep down, it hurts my feelings.
I figured it did.
Yeah.
Speaking of kids that come up, I don't know if it's every kid or every other kid. Where's JB?
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry. Touche.
You get the same thing?
Everywhere I
No.
go.
Do you seriously?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I feel bad.
Where's
bad for you.
Dale?
I feel bad for you.
Probably at home. Oh, he's not with you? Well, you think we live together and go everywhere together? Like,
yeah.
And then I use the same saying every single time. Secretary has to stay at home.
Every single time they ask me where JB is, I say he'll be here in an hour. And every time they get so excited.
I'm going to start using that.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes I forget to tell them it's a joke, and they will come back an hour later.
Well, LJ, he set me up for failure Saturday. We're going to Mansfield. JC Knapp's got a bull team deal. I have 2 bulls entered. And a guy, JC, posted on there who all's entered and the bull teams that are entered. And some guy commented on there, said, JB Mooney's really going to be there? And LJ replied back to him, said, yeah, I heard he was signing autographs out front. I was like, oh, yeah.
Well, it's
so there goes my Saturday.
Every single time I'm somewhere. Hey, can you think you can deliver this message to JB?
Can I have his phone number?
Yeah. This guy was.
That's the one that I love. Can I have his phone number?
Silly drunk.
I probably knew him.
At the WRCA finals, and he came up. He was like, look, I don't watch your videos. I don't get on the internet. And I was thinking, okay, well then how'd you know to?
Yeah.
How do you know I'm on the internet?
Right.
You just lead with that. Like,
right.
I don't do that Facebook. All right. Well, how'd you know to tell me that?
Yeah.
You got to deliver a message to JB. All right. And he's just nodding, almost falling over. And I'm just like in my head thinking, I'm not going to. But he was so drunk. I was like, okay, you bet. Let me text him right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every now and then, though, somebody will come
What
up.
was the message?
Yeah, I'm waiting for it too.
He wanted you to send a video to his daughter. So I'll get you the phone number later.
Well, that couldn't possibly go wrong.
Or something like that. Somebody.
Depending on JB's mood, how could that go?
Yeah. JB's got a
Depends
heart.
on if we've been working bulls or not.
I was just gonna say.
JB's got a heart. He'll do all those things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just way deep down inside, buried in my foot. Takes a while to get down there to it.
I gotta say, you're really good with fans, because it's hard for me, knowing you guys personally, to see him get mobbed, especially after he's been doing something where he got hurt, and people don't seem to care. They're like, can you just give him a minute?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it's like, be mindful,
Right.
Yeah.
be polite.
That, or even when I'd get bucked off with one I shouldn't have,
Yeah.
and I come out and I'm throwing my bull rope, and I'm mad, and you can easily tell I'm really mad.
Yeah.
Hey, man. will you FaceTime my brother? I'm like,
Seriously, I've
No.
seen it.
not right now. Give me 5 minutes and a cigarette, and I'll be right back with you.
Yeah. You will sit there.
I don't know how you do it.
It was that first summer you started pro rodeoing. I remember Jaisal Angel. She's a secretary for Sammy Andrews, and she sent me a picture. She was like, JB has been out here for 2 hours.
Oh, that's Fort Smith.
Is that where it was?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the line, and it was like, it was an hour and a half, 2 hours in, and the line was still just, and JB was out there.
Them security guys, Denny Flynn and them, they asked me, they said, there's a bunch of people back here. I said, let me get all this stuff off, smoke a cigarette, and let them roll.
Yeah.
And I said, just give me 5 or 10 minutes, get all my stuff put up, smoke me a cigarette, kind of chill out. I sat down. I said, let them have at it. Well, halfway through this, they're like, man, we can cut it off whenever you want to. I said, man, I don't have anywhere to be. I said, I'm going to that RV out there, going to sleep, and we're driving to the next rodeo tomorrow. I said, I would kind of feel like an asshole if I just said, nah, I'm done. I said, and they kept bringing me beer, so
Yeah.
I was just drinking beer and signing autographs. I was like, man, they found my way to my heart.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the lesson. 5 minutes and a cigarette and all the beer he can drink. Just give him that.
Yeah, if you bring beer, I'll sign.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
true.
Like, JB will do those things.
Yeah.
JB's got that heart.
Right? He doesn't admit it,
Yeah.
but I've seen it.
It's kind of like those, what were you saying about those bulls? You started getting a couple nice ones.
Yeah, I'm going to lose my reputation. Kai Hamilton bought a place there in Stephenville, so he don't have his place quite set up yet for bulls and stuff, and he's bought a few practice bulls to keep at the house, and a couple of them are pretty gentle, and I'm losing my reputation of having a bunch of big, mean hooking son of a guns. I've got bulls you can go in there and scratch on and pet on. I'm like, this is not, you can tell Kai lives around here now.
It's a petting zoo.
Yeah. JB's gained a reputation when he shows up with a trailer load of bulls. Usually bull riders start leaving.
Yeah, usually I back up. All you can see in the trailer is heads, horns, and you can watch rigging bags disappear.
That's a good thing.
But is that what's next for you?
I guess.
A lot more bull trading, and
That's where I'm going after I leave here today.
Yeah.
Pick up some more.
I saw you had a trailer. Where are you going?
North Wichita Falls.
Yeah.
It's Norris Dalton's bulls, but he passed away. Nick Ross, he still runs it all, so I'm going to pick some up, take them to the house, start working them.
And you keep some bulls for some guys. And
I actually do have, like, I don't let everybody know that I have, after your videos come out of me letting guys get on, my reputation's really going to go down. Because it's pretty easy to keep it to a slim amount of people that come to the house.
yeah.
Because they always thought I had big, mean hooking son of guns. Actually, I got, you've been there. There's 4 or 5 of them bulls that's not mean at all and actually good bulls just to get on.
Yeah.
Now, there goes my reputation. Everybody's going to want to come over and get on.
Yeah. Well, let me get on that muley over there. That's real nice.
Well, see, if you don't notice, like yesterday, the way I had them pinned, they were stacked in the back. So they were going to have to get on whatever I wanted to buck first if they wanted to get to the nice, gentle ones.
That is, you do have your back pins the way they stack. Like you do have to kind of go through them.
Yeah.
I did that on purpose.
I noticed that when I was trying to load that muley in my trailer. I had to like shuffle around like half a dozen bulls to get to him. So are you, but I mean, if you had a couple bull riders that, I mean, them horns and hooking didn't scare them.
Kai, it don't bother him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got on, like that spotted bull of his is mean. He's got on him with just me out there fighting bulls. Like,
really?
It don't bother him too much.
Yeah, I put the vest on when I went to go to fight him.
The thing about him is he's not smart mean yet.
Right.
He's mean, but he handles pretty good. Like when I feed him, heck, he stands from me to you when I'm feeding him and stuff. Like he's not bad, terribly mean. But when you buck him, he gets a little hot, but he don't know how to hook.
Yeah.
You can tell he'll keep spinning away. Now, once he slows down, picks his head up, he'll run over you. But
man, I can't remember which bull I was in the pen with yesterday, kind of going in there to get him out so we could get something else loaded. And you were like, hey, you might watch him. I immediately went to the fence. Because if JB's definition of you might watch him,
Yes.
this bastard's going to be super mean. I wanted to, waste no time. You got that place set up. It's like a bull heaven, and it's an old dairy. They're still welding on it every day.
Oh yeah, there's a shed row I'm gonna take down. Eventually, I'm gonna build Samantha and Jagger a big arena, like a roping size arena. That way she can exercise barrel horses, thing like that. I'm gonna do that up at by where that single wide's at.
Yeah,
because there's a trap up there that I usually kick horses out in it, but I'm gonna build her an actual barn with some nice runs, and she don't quite like putting her barrel horses in my bull pens. My horses go in whatever pen I put them in.
right.
But,
Are her barrel horses there now?
no, absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
When that day comes around, once I build that barn with the runs, it'll be by the arena up there. That way she can have her stuff down there. I'll have my stuff up here. Keep
That's
it separate.
hilarious.
Yeah, that setup, I remember being out there when you first bought it. It's pretty rough.
Yeah.
And
There was a lot of cleanup.
a lot of cleanup. Yeah, you were out there with the
Skid steer.
skid steer for a long time,
Yeah.
and that pipe burst, I remember, and stuff. But you didn't rush right in. Like a lot of people have moved out to this country to be part of this community in the last couple of years, and they put up prefab stuff, and it's all shiny and pretty and stuff. You didn't go that route. You've been doing everything piece by piece, just the way you want it. And I got to say, for what you do for the livestock, it looks awesome. I mean, and you're really thinking through how you want it set up.
Well, that's what, it's Red Tail Welding and Construction built the whole place. We went through, it was 6 or 7 semi-loads of pipe we've been through so far.
Wow.
But I told them when they first showed up, they said, "What's your goal?" I said, "If I've got bulls and pens on this side, I want to be able to take them over here, and all I have to do is open and close gates.
Yep.
Everything has to connect and lead." And they said, "Well, why?" I said, "It's a one-man show usually around here. I'm usually doing all this by myself." So,
Exactly.
cut gates are everywhere, and like Hunter, he's really good at designing. So when we built that arena, he said, "How many back pins you want?" I said, "As many as we can fit in there." I said, because everybody I've talked to always says, build a bunch, because if you don't, you always want more. If you build 10 back pins, you're always going, well, I need 15.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I said, so the only reason there's not more there right now is because there's a water line over there. It's a 2-inch water line, and I want to leave it because I got it run down to my arena so I can wet it with a fire hose. But
Right.
there's 19 total back pins. If you close every gate and make, the way we set it up, and he drew it out, and the only thing I really did was showed him, how I wanted gates to swing, which direction, to make everything flow. And that's what everybody that comes to the house, they're like, "Gosh, dang, you thought about everything."
Yeah.
I said, "I do this every day. I had to set it up."
Exactly. And you got hurt this last time, and you were just sitting around thinking about it. I knew that. And watching you the other day, I'm like, wow, this is what he's doing. He's sitting around thinking about how to move cattle.
Yeah.
And you watch him do it by himself back there. I was like, that's impressive.
That's what everybody that comes and gets on bulls is funny, because they all just stand on the bucket chutes and watch me. They'll pull slides for me and stuff, but I work them every day, so I know which ones to pay attention to, which ones I can just kind of walk by and not even think about and stuff like that. So I would rather me just get back there and do it than somebody that's not around them every day and want to get them down, hook them, and hurt them. So I just do it.
And part of this is the fact that you're not a guy that likes to you don't enjoy just sitting around.
No, I can't. I got to be doing something.
Yep.
Well, yesterday, Mason Taylor brought a couple bulls over to your house for me to look at, and you were off moving some bull somewhere, and so he and I were on the other side, on the other delivery, and in those back pens, and we were like, well, maybe we should move him over here and do this over, and then we looked at each other like, or maybe we should just let JB do it. He's got a certain system that he wants to use, because it was going to involve us moving this one or that one, but.
It's like a maze, and he's like got the key to the whole maze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you notice, like a lot of them pens, there's a few of them that, most of them, if you fold them gates all the way back around,
Mm-hmm.
there's a triangle you can stand in behind it where they can't mash it.
Yeah.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
So it's 12-foot pins or whatever they are with a 10-foot gate.
Yeah.
That way I can open it, step inside the gate, bring it to them bulls. Well, when you bring it all the way around, it hits where you can stand in there. So
Yeah.
because a lot of them bulls I get, like probably the ones I'm going to pick up today, seen one human in their whole life. Mean, ignorant, wild. So, and hey, you pull that gate around to you, they can't get to you. They can hit it all they want to, and you can just stand in that little corner right there. That's why we did it. I told them to build them like that. That way I had a place to hide.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You also got a big old hydraulic chute that them bulls with huge horns can go up in. Got that cage in front. Yeah, it's set up. So, like, I mean, is it something where somebody like, hey, let's say somebody wants to get in the bull business and either partner on a bull or have somebody take care of it. Like, you'd be the guy like, hey, look, I got these 5-6 bulls. I own them. I want to see them go down the road, but I need somewhere for somebody to work them. Like, that's what you're set up for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why I built it, because, where my pens are set up kind of like a feed yard.
Yeah.
There's runs, but every lane, like, if they're in those pens over there, you can go to 2 different loadouts, the squeeze chute or the back pens, and all you have to do is open close gates.
Boy, you just said the feed yard. That's why it felt so familiar with me, because I grew up following my dad around from feed yard to feed yard. And you process cattle, you have to move a lot of livestock efficiently.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I like it too. It's just big enough that you can get horseback, and so those bulls will learn to respect a horse.
Oh, they're even those wild bulls I go get, they're 10 times easier to handle horseback.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, when I push them, once I get them in the back pens and get them all stacked in there, I do everything on foot. But, it's pretty interesting when I get a fresh load in and I push them down there in them back pens, because it might take me all day to load 2 bulls. But I do it, and I just, I wait on them bulls to just finally give up, and then I'll push them up. And then, I get over there and I'll start working them to get them in the 90s, because half them bulls I get's never even been in a bucking chute.
Yeah. Well, there's so I've been taking Ty over there a couple times. We've been over there 3 times the last 10 days. And so the first day I was over there, I watched y'all buck these 2 bulls. One of them was jumping out of pens flat-footed. And so over the course of 10 days, I watched you halter him, train him, to where now he doesn't do anything. And so that was one bull that, like, really just turned to flip, for lack of better words, no pun intended, as far as, like, his progress. And then the second one that I noticed was a bruiser-looking bull. I know he's not out of bruiser. I thought that was that one. But the first time you bucked him, he just pretty much run off. But then the second time you bucked him, you adjusted a few things, and he got it on, like, in the latch. And it made me realize, it made me remember, you're not just sending a bull to JB and then he just get bucked, like, all right, what does this bull need to have his best out?
See, them 2 bulls too, both of those bulls, that gray and the red Bremer, like, you got to watch how much hay you give them, because, boy, the red will bloat, and the little gray, he'll look bred.
Yeah.
I mean, so every day, like, I'll look at them when I'm feeding. They get grain twice a day, no matter what. But hay, a lot of them, sometimes I get them thin bulls in. I'll feed them hay twice a day, or stick them in a pen with a round bell in it, just so they can eat until they fill up, and then I'll move them. But like them 2, I look at them before I give them hay to figure out, all right, well, I can give them hay today.
Right.
I mean, if you throw them hay every day, them son of a guns, they get fat on dirt. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So that's what, when Lance brought them to me and dropped them off, they were a little on the heavy side. And he said he had backed them off the grain and stuff, but heck, he was feeding them alfalfa and coastal.
Right.
And they were just.
Yeah.
And so I've been kind of backing them off. And that gray bull, that was one problem. He was a little fat the last time we bucked him. And then when we bucked him yesterday, I got him slimmed back down to where he needed to be, and he bucked.
Yeah. No, he got it on. Yeah, that was neat. And that was something, that's one of the things talking to Rogan about, that the world doesn't realize, how much thought and time and effort you put into
everything with these bucking bulls because they're potentially worth so much money. But even just the nutrition, like not only bucking bulls, but horses, I'm going to make sure Boone's got the best nutrition possible. He doesn't, most of the time he doesn't get hay. Sometimes in the winter I'll put out some hay and they'll have access to some good coastal, but for the most part he gets 8 pounds of total equine every day. And he's 23 and that's been his diet since he was 12. So going on 10 years is that's been Boone every day.
Well, you see how fat all my horses are standing around there.
That big black horse, what's his name? What do y'all call
Richard.
him? Richard.
Yeah.
Where'd you get him?
He come from the Amish.
Oh, yeah. When you were up in North Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big, gentle rascal.
Yeah, that's Randy's main stick now.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I finally got Randy matched up with a horse.
Yeah.
'Cause he wants to do stuff. Like, he loves it when he comes over there. He's like, what are you doing today? I'm work some of these bulls, just run them through the chute. Horseback? Yep. I'm coming.
Yeah.
So I'll just saddle Richard up. And the first day he came, I didn't know how they were going to pair up. So I didn't give him any spurs. And we got done. I said, how'd you like it? He said, man, it's hard to move him, around them gates. 'Cause, spin around them gates, close them and open them and stuff. And I said, I'll give you some gigs next time.
Right.
So the next time he came, I gave him a set of spurs put on. Boy, I love this. Thanks, man.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, he matches up. He looks so punchy. Like Randy's got that, especially on that big horse.
Oh, yeah.
Put him on that big horse, and he looks.
That is a big horse.
I let Randy ride him because I can ride him, but I can't ride him all day.
Because of your hips?
Yeah.
Dang.
I was going to say.
I won't be able to pick my right leg up to get off of him if I ride him all day long.
Yeah.
It's like getting on a 55-gallon drum.
Well,
yeah, he's a big fella.
Speaking of getting on him, just pick up his front foot and he'll lay down for you.
Yeah, just pull that rein around.
Yeah, we got a great video of that.
Oh, yeah, you were still there. I thought you might have left.
Yeah, no, we got a video of Randy getting up on him.
That's the first time I've laid him down in, I don't know how long, over a year.
Well, he didn't forget.
Oh, it looked like you did it every day.
Yeah, if you do it every day, you can lay him down and he'll just lay there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's been over a year since I laid him down. But
you
can tell you tap that front left leg with your boot, and he'll just pick it up and hold it up for you, and you just hold it with your fingertips, pull his old head around, he'll just lay right over.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to get on him like that all the time because, gosh dang, the stirrup was at my chin.
Yeah.
It's like Dale's Can-Am.
Yeah. It's like getting in the first gen out there.
Yeah. Man, I hadn't heard of him forever. You watching them guys, you were giving Kyle a hard time about how much time he takes in the chute, and very similar to Ty. I just had an intern here. He just left. His name was Joey, and he was more like you. Like, you better be ready with the flank because he's just going to nod real fast. He had worked for Kanan, Asay, and I guess that was something he picked up getting on for him. Like, don't waste time in the buck and shoot. But it reminded me of how quick you'll nod. Mm-hmm. But where was it that you were at? Tell that story about the flank.
It was a PBR somewhere. Curtis Mendel had a black ball-faced bull that everybody wanted to get on him.
Yeah.
And they called him Chester. And I had him somewhere. Well, Curtis had got used to them guys taking so long in the bucking shoots and stuff, he wasn't paying attention. Well, I took my rap and nodded and bailed up there, and the first jump out of the bucking chute, there's a picture. He's just holding the tail of the flank. Like, he didn't have him flank. Well, I was like 86.5 on him, but they had to give me the option of a re-ride because no flank.
Yeah.
So I walked back over there and I said, Curtis, you want to run him back in? He said, really? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, I'll run him back in. So they spun him back around, run him back in. They bucked, I don't know how many bulls, and then I got right back on him. And I took my rap that time. When I took it, I looked back. I said, you got him flanked? Yeah, you're ready now. I was 87.5 on him second time.
A full point. How many bull riders going today would have taken the re-ride on an 86.5?
None. Zero.
So this is JB, at the blackjack table. I got a queen and a 9. Hit me. I got this.
I'm here to win.
I got this.
Yeah.
I ain't quite as bad at gambling.
Is there anybody that would have done that? That you think?
I mean, a lot of them play the odds. Well, see, I knew the bull. He does the same thing every single time. And I said, well, shoot, if I was 86.5 on him without a flank, surely I can be more.
Right.
And like I had it in my head, there was no way he was going to buck me off.
Yeah.
Because if he would have, it'd look pretty stupid. But
Yeah.
luckily it worked out. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple times I did that where it didn't work out. One year at Nampa, I had reindeer in the short round, and he reindeered off, and I can't remember. I was like 74 points on him. Well, if I'd have kept the score, I'd have won second.
Yeah.
And the re-ride was a big black muley Chad Berger had, and I said, give him to me. And they were like, man, if you just keep your score, you're going to win second. I was like,
You already knew.
Oh, yeah. They told me. I was like, I'm not here for second. Run him in there.
Hell yeah.
So I get on the black muley. Well, I'm like 72 on him. And the next re-ride was Kathmandu. And they're like, look, you're going to win second. I said, no, run him in there. He bucked me off 7 seconds. I ended up winning like 7th.
Yeah.
But that's JB Mauney.
Yeah. I mean,
You don't get 2 world championships by just coasting.
Well, I was always there. I wasn't playing the odds, the average. I was there
Right.
to win.
Right.
Whether it was win the round, win the whole deal. That's what I always would tell people. If I win every round, I'm going to win the average. You don't have to play the odds or look at the average. If you win every round, you're going to win the average.
Right.
yeah. So I didn't get to finish the quote. Again, I was on Rogan. I was like telling your story about, Bushwhacker and you picking the ranked bulls. But I mean, that seems like that same situation. I asked you on a podcast a long time ago, like, why you do that.
Nobody remembers 85-point rides.
That's it. Yeah, we got it on a few T-shirts.
You write that in stone.
Nobody remembers 85-point bull rides. Yeah, I think that's kind of a. Maybe there's always I don't know that I don't want to just like throw the current bull riding generation under the bus. I feel like that's probably always been a rarity. Like even in the 90s,
Sure.
like Tough and Ty and a lot of them guys were, had a mentality like that was probably rare back then too.
Oh, yeah. You see it more now because everything's televised.
Mm-hmm.
You see it more now than you would back then. Everything wasn't televised. So,
Yeah.
and I think it's got a little weaker the generation now, but it's still like everything's put on TV or on Facebook or Instagram, so you see everything, so everybody knows about it. It's not like back then when not everything was televised. You didn't see half of it.
Right. A guy could turn down a re-ride.
Yeah,
And
and nobody knew about it except who was there.
Now, and you think you see this in a lot of other sports. Football, basketball. People are managing career like a business.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I need to last as long as I can and make as much as I can. So they're going to give up the Super Bowl ring. But, they're going to play an extra 5 years, but they never, like you said, you're not going to remember them, but that's what they're in for. Mm-hmm. They're in for the business of being a professional athlete. You were in to win. That was it.
I always figured if, when I was little, it was kind of drilled into my head. You play the game, you take the pain. And so I lived by that. And, it wasn't a business.
No.
I mean, if I was wanting to be a businessman, I probably damn sure wouldn't have chose riding bulls for a living. And, but, I was always like that. I didn't play the odds. I wasn't banking on other people getting bucked off or trying to pick bulls I knew I could ride. All I knew is if I did my job and I picked a buckiness one I could get on and rode him, I was going to win. It was simple, easy plan. And that's what them guys, they'd always, when we'd be standing out there for the draft, what are you picking? I don't know. I knew exactly what I was picking, but I didn't tell them.
Right.
I was like, I don't know. Not one you want, so why are you even asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, they had to do a lot more thinking than I had to.
Right.
I looked at it. I picked one, whether I was sitting first, fifth, or last, I picked me one out on that sheet that I figured was the buckiness one in there that nobody wanted to get on. No matter where I was sitting, I usually got the one I wanted to get on.
Mm-hmm.
And so while they're over there studying their paper and looking and watching videos and doing this and that, I was just standing there because I said, you keep it simple. Like, it's 8 seconds.
You bring up a good point. You didn't have competition for your bulls.
Mm-mm.
And so you could do all that planning to try to get, the average, win the average, and not get your bull. Because, like, or the guys want that same bull.
There was plenty of times that I could have picked different bulls and won the event.
Mm-hmm.
But Bushwhacker was in there, and it was kind of a pride deal. Like, I was going to ride the son of a bitch, so I'd pick him.
That's legendary.
And then when they retired him, somebody said, "Oh, bet you hate they retired him." I was like, "Absolutely not. I don't have to get on him ever again." Maybe I can make more money now.
Yeah.
That was just JB against JB.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I did it to myself, because every time he was in a draft, I picked him. And I'd got it in my head I was going to ride the son of a gun, so I just kept on. I was like, and finally it worked out.
This is personal, Bushwhacker.
Was it
I'm coming for you.
94 1/4?
Ah, shit, I can't remember. All I know is whistle blew.
Yeah.
And I was not on the ground. I was headed to the ground, but my hand was still in the rope.
Yeah.
Every other time I was usually either dragging or under him or piled up, and when the whistle blew.
After that many rides, was it hard for you to accept at first? You're like, did I really hear the whistle blow?
Oh, yeah. Because it was close. If it had been 8.1, I wouldn't have rode him.
Yeah.
Like, the whistle blew as I was headed to the ground. I just wouldn't turn loose of that rope.
Who was it that rode him as a 2-year-old?
3-year-old, when it was classic year. 2 of them. There was a Brazilian. I can't remember his name. He didn't stay around very long. He rode him, and Marcus Mariluch rode him when he was a classic bull when they first cracked him out.
Yeah.
You should have seen him with a dummy.
Stupid rank?
No, horrible.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, you would have. He'd have been in a coal pen.
Really?
Horrible.
Dang.
Well, there's a story.
Terrible.
That's funny.
I've seen one video when they bucked him with a dummy, and I was like, "You're kidding me."
Yeah.
Like, I mean, jump out there, hit flat-footed, not kick, slinging his head, just horrible.
Right.
And that's what it got me to thinking. I'm like, golly. Like, if they would have been culling back then the way they do now on them dummy bulls, there would have never been a Bushwhacker. Them bulls would have never made it past the dummy.
Wow.
It makes you wonder how many Bushwhackers have been culled lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the chemistry's not there for the bull.
And a lot, you can tell, like, when you get them, when they're 2-year-olds, you can tell, whether they're going to be dummy bulls or rider bulls. I mean, you can kind of go off that, but still you don't know till you put somebody on them.
Yeah.
What percentage of, like, a good dummy bull you feel like makes a good rider bull?
The thing about it is, like, them guys that go with them, they buck them so much with that dummy, entering them in them competitions and winning with them. Well, by the time they're 4-year-old bulls going, hell, they've had how many trips on them?
Yeah.
Well, you should not do that. Until when the dummies came out before they started futurities, you'd put a couple trips on them to see if you was going to cull them or not with a dummy. And if you wanted to keep them, you kicked them out in the pasture till they were 3. And then you got them up and started working them and putting guys on them.
Yeah.
So now if you buy one that's went through the futurities and all that, there's no telling how many trips or how many times he's been bucked.
Right.
So I don't think they last quite as long, because they've already got miles under them before they're even 3-year-old, before they're even big enough to put a guy on. That's like a lot of those bulls I get, they might be 4 or 5 years old, but they're fresh. They've never been bucked, so shoot, you buy them, they'll last forever.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of got a little bit different mindset when it comes to those, giving those horses some time to, and bulls. Like when they come here to the house to be like a practice type bull for some of these guys, because their whole life changes when they come here, because they're not getting, the main thing, they are not getting put on a trailer.
Yeah.
And the wear and tear of going down the road, bouncing around in a trailer, in a metal box. going, I don't know if you guys been eastbound on I-40 lately, but it ain't good. You got to get a new axle every time you come back from Vegas.
Yep.
So you put 15, 20 of those trips a year on a bull, and it'll wear and tear on them. Well, when they come here to Radiator Ranch, it's like you're going to be fed total feeds. You're going to walk from this pen to that pen once a week, and then you walk back. You eat, sleep, and sometimes you get a 2 or 3 week break, depending on maybe we're on the road. So, like, I'll see. That's why I went ahead and bought that bull yesterday.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have his trip. He's a little bit older, but I know, he will turn back. And when he gets here, he's going to have a week off, and then maybe we take him somewhere once a year, like he's just going to have a really good life, and he'll have another shot at getting good again. But I know that's not realistic for everybody. You got to, that's the whole point. You got to haul them to the show.
Yeah.
But
that's how those bulls, that I work around there, I get them in, I decide, a lot of times I'll run them down to the same deal. They go from pen to the back pens in the buck and shoot. And, I bought a set of calves off a guy one time, 2-year-olds, or coming 2-year-olds, and for 28 days straight, they went through those buck and shoots. I'd feed in the mornings, and once they were finished eating, I had a horse saddled. I'd push them all down there in the back pens. Once I had them all stacked in there, got off, and I'd sort them one at a time and load them.
Dang.
Leave them in there, go get another one out of the pen, load them. By the end of 28 days, you could walk in there with just a flag, and whichever one you wanted out of there, you walk him out, close the gate, he'd load right up, just stand there calm, put the dummy on them, didn't fight the box.
Yeah.
But I mean, you just got to read them.
Yeah.
Like that Red Bull, the first day when I had a halter on him, first day I got him there, we unloaded him, and within 20 minutes, he jumped 3 pins that are 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
And I found out pretty quick, like, why they'd never bucked him probably. And Kyle was standing there, and we were watching him jump from one pin to the next like a deer, and he goes, "How do we fix that?" I said, "I got ways." So I put the halter on him and tied him up and left him standing for a couple of hours, untied him, but I left that lead. He drags it around, stepping on it, kind of like training a dog, to lead. You just let them drag it around, step on it enough, they'll figure out to give to the pressure. And I run him every time I would pin those bulls. I would tie him up for a certain amount of time, and then I'd untie him with that lead, run him in the chute, mess with him in there, and then let him out. The other day, I rolled him in there. He never tried to jump, nothing. So I said, I won't take that halter off of him. So I took it off. You've seen the way he acted. He walked straight in there. I mean, he'll pick his head up and look a little bit, but never tried to jump out. Didn't try to jump out of my arena.
Yeah. Man, that's what, I think I've been to 3 booths since you've retired, and everybody walks up, like we said, "Where's JB? He'll be here in an hour." "Really?" "No." "Oh." And then they'll ask, "What's he going to do now?" And it's like, I don't think people understand how much you love this industry and the things that go along with it. Like, he still doesn't have enough time in the day to do what he wants to do, even without bull riding. You're so involved with that place and raising bulls, like you love it so much that there's no question of what you'll do.
Those of us know you've been doing this for a long time. It's you don't just sit around between bull ridings.
No.
You've never done that.
That's why even when we'd go on summer run, it was fun, but man, I was sitting there I was always worried about what was going on in my barns. If things were taken care of, right? In which I don't want other people working those bulls because, I don't want them getting hurt while I'm gone or something like that. So when I'd leave, I kick them out in pastures. That way they just pull in there, they feed, and they drive out. Nothing's in pens or anything like that. And then, like this summer, I came home, my neck was broke. So it took, 3 or 4 days of sitting in that house not being able to do anything. And I was like, I'm done with this. So I started going back over to the barns, and we pinned them all back up. And it was pretty funny because I wasn't supposed to be getting into pens and doing stuff like that. I wasn't supposed to be doing hardly anything. And
I'm pretty sure no.
I had the neck brace on, and a couple of them bulls were pretty hot. I told them, they brought them in, and, it amazes me that guys that have worked cattle and stuff, but it's a whole different deal working those bulls, knowing which way to swing the gate, which way, to make them flow and come out of them pens, especially them hot bulls. And the boy that was living there, he's scared to death. He was up on top of them panels, and it was hot that day. I had that neck brace on. I was sweating. I wasn't in a very good mood, and I finally come apart. I told him if he didn't get off the top of them pins, I was going to hot shot him, and then he was going and staying inside and was not coming back out there. I said, you know what? Never mind. Get out of my way. Because I told him, I said, there's 2 bulls in that pen. You got to split off. They go on the other side. And I said, just get out of the pens. I crawled over in there and stepped in the pen, sorted the 2 out, shut the gate. Wasn't in there 5 minutes. I was like, boy, that was hard, wasn't it? I crawled back up there, and Randy, he's up there giggling on the back of the bucking chutes, and I walk up there, and he's trying not to laugh because our boy's standing right there. And I look at him, and I said, that's a good thing that Red Bull didn't hook the shit out of me when I stepped in there. It was like, he goes, man, I was kind of worried. I was like, the thing that worked like I had it planned, because he was mean. But
what was it Labor Day? He broke it?
the 6th, September 6th.
Yeah, a little bit after.
I think I had, because I had surgery on the 8th, I believe.
How'd that go down? Where was you?
Lewiston, Idaho.
That's right. You were in Lewiston.
And
Wow.
they had been wearing my legs
Long way from
out.
a lot of things.
Yeah.
Lewiston, Idaho.
Yeah. They had been wearing my legs out. Like, when I got to Lewiston, I had a walking boot on my right leg. My ankle was broke, and I broke my left foot. Well, I didn't actually break it. It was an old break that I re-broke and broke a piece of the bone off, so it's just floating around on my foot. And then my left fibula, I broke it in June, so my legs were shot. Like, I didn't know which leg to limp on. And we got there, and that's what I was joking around, because like in Ellensburg, I hung up to a bull, just stomped my legs. They were swelled up, just wrecked out, but it was right at the time. I was sitting close enough that I had to keep going. I couldn't stop. And so we get to Lewiston, and that bull, I get behind on him. He's a good bull, and I got behind. He caught me with his hip, and I guess I had a hold of that tail. It's still wrapped around my hand, so when I went up, it kind of just snatched me straight to the ground. Well, I landed. This was the hat I had on, because you can see the ripples.
Yeah.
That's where I hit, right on the back left corner of my head, and my head was, I guess I was trying to get turned over in the air.
Yeah.
Didn't quite get there. When I hit, as soon as I rolled over, I knew it was broke. Like, when I went to push to get up, I knew it. I felt it. And
Ooh.
I tucked this arm in because it shot a pain down through my arm. And somehow, because I'm not very flexible, I got up on my knees and was like walking on my knees and got up on my feet. And Shane Proctor, I guess he realized something was wrong. He jumped the bucking chute, and he got a hold of me, and we got back in that chute. That bull was spinning behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And we got in the bucking chute. I kind of was bent over, had my head on the back of the bucking chute. He said, you all right? I said, I just broke my neck. He said, oh, dang, don't move. I was like, is that bull gone? He said, yeah. I said, let me out of this chute. I just turned, walked out to front of the arena, and I knew to keep everything as still and as straight as I could. I walked out and got outside and sat down on a picnic table, and those paramedics walked over. So what's going on? I was like, my neck is broke. And they went to freaking out.
Yeah.
And we put a neck collar on and was trying to get my boots and spurs off and everything. And Hawkwood, he was sitting there. He said, you need anything? I was like, nah, I'm all right. What about a cigarette? I was like, yes, I could use one of those, because where I'm headed, they're not going to let me smoke. So I'm surprised a picture hadn't come about of that, me sitting on a picnic table with a neck brace on,
Cigarette.
with them trying to get the IV started in my arm, just smoking a cigarette. And, that's what I told him. I said, man, past month I've been wanting to land on my head so my legs could take a break. And I said, I finally land on my head and I break my damn neck. But that's what we got over there. I didn't know it was as bad as it was. I knew it was broke, but I didn't know it was as bad as it was. They did the CT scan. They told me they were admitting me and everything. They seized some stuff. So they said, send you in the morning for MRIs. We're admitting you. Probably going to have surgery. And I was kind of thinking, I'm not real sure if I want to have surgery in Lewiston, Idaho. It's not a very big hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I called Tandy, and I said, man, if I can get this guy to call you, will you just figure everything out? I said, I don't know if I want to have surgery here or not? Like, I don't know. And he said, yeah. So after the MRI, the surgeon came in. He talked to him. He's a really nice guy. And I, kind of asked him, I said, man, I don't mean any disrespect or anything. I said, but orthopedic surgeon has worked on me for 20 years of my life. Do you mind calling him and, just explaining everything to him? He said, yeah, no problem. About an hour and a half later, I got a call from Tandy. He said, you're having surgery in Lewiston. And I said, why? He said, they can't risk transporting you. Like, it's not stable.
Dang.
I said, that bad? He said, it's not very good. And I said, all right. So morning of the 8th, they did the surgery. They cut me right there, went in the front, took the disc out, and then went down the back, cut the back of my neck and put the plate, screws, and rod in. And after the surgery, I wasn't awake yet. He told Samantha that, he said, I don't know why he's not paraplegic. And she said, what do you mean? He said, the disc was flipped, twisted, and smashed into my spinal cord. Said if I had any room at all, I had maybe a millimeter. Dang. And then he, once I woke up, he came in and talked to me and everything, and that's when he told me, he said, your occupation. I said, what about it? He said, you might be time to find a different one. I said, why is that? He said, if you land on your head like that again, you're going to run a pretty good chance of snapping your neck. He said, because where we fixed is going to be stout, and in return, that's going to be so stout, it's going to weaken above and below it.
Hell yeah.
He said, so if you land on your head like that again, he said, I can't say it's going to happen, but you're going to run the risk of snapping your neck, and if you do that, you're going to be in a wheelchair the rest of your life or dead one. And I said, well, if I could have figured out how not to land on my head, I'd have probably started that about 20 years ago. Yeah. He said, what do you mean? I said, I go up. Usually my head weighs more than my feet. It comes down first.
Yeah.
So, I told somebody, they said, you really retiring? I said, yeah. I said, if it wasn't for Samantha and Jagger, I probably wouldn't. Because, bull riding's a gamble. Every time you nod your head. I said, but, I don't want to be dead or stuck in a wheelchair either. Dang. I said, so I made a decision, and, 36 years old, I had a pretty good run at him.
Yeah, I think it was Randy said, sorry you had to go out like that.
Yeah, Randy's like, I just hate you had to go out that way. And I said, Randy, it was always going in that way. And he said, what do you mean? I said, because I would have never been able to tell myself I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Even to this day, watching them boys get on bulls.
Right.
It runs through my head. Hell, I could have rode that one.
Yeah.
And it'll always be that way. Now I know I can't. And.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody else who had a similar injury, not quite as high up, but still like lay right here, till the surgeon gets here. And it's almost something liberating. I've watched my old man go through it. He got on a bronc as late as he died when he was 55. And I think about a month after he turned 55. Well, that fall when he was 54, he got on a bucking horse at just a little, I think there was like 5 of us entered, and he was 67 points. It was like, he was on cloud 9, and not that he was like, oh, I need to get going again, but, and even Mason Taylor showed a video of his dad getting on yesterday, and his dad was like 48, and it's just like this thing, it's like it grabs a hold of a rodeo cowboy, and it just trickles away real slow, and it's this constant battle you can see these older cowboys get into, and there's something liberating about not having to engage in that battle.
Yeah, and that was a thing. Like I told Randy, I said it was better off this way too. I would have never been able to tell myself I couldn't, because there was a couple of things I prided myself on, and that was being tough.
Yeah, and
it didn't matter how bad they crippled me up or how bad I was hurt. I always had it in my head that I could still ride.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, everybody, well, you've been beat up this, you've been beat up that. Well, just like I said, if I wanted to be a businessman, I wouldn't have chose to ride bulls for a living. I knew what come with the territory, and I accepted it, and I dealt with it. And, but I was like, this is probably the best way, because it's like an itch you got to scratch.
Yeah.
Like watching that Brindle bull. Oh man, I was like, man, I'd like to get on him with my tennis shoes, But my luck, I'd probably land on top of my head and it'd kill me. So
yeah, or worse.
And another thing, like I explained to her, I was like, I didn't have to make the decision; it was made for me.
Exactly.
It's a lot different than just saying, hey, I'm done. You know,
Yeah.
like they pretty much told me, like, you land on your head, you're dead or in a wheelchair. So
Right.
Yeah.
Then you're not
gotcha.
not a position of talking yourself out of something.
Yeah.
You just spend your time accepting it.
You know, somebody said, well, would you have retired this year if you made the NFR? I said, probably not. Because if I would have made it, you know, I'd have been like, hell, I made it.
Yeah.
Might as well make it again next year. You know, why stop now? And I was happy, you know, that Jagger was old enough to be able to go experience it, see me ride in person before it happened, you know. That's what, you know, McBride always told me when I told him, I said, I want him to be old enough to remember it, you know, see me be able, because I know a lot of guys that, you know, their kids grow up and they're like, well, you rode bulls, but I want to see it in person,
Right.
you know. And that's what I tell him. He's always like, YouTube, man. I said, but it's not the same, you know, watching a video is watching it in person. So I was fortunate enough, he's old enough, he remembers. He'll be able to remember it, getting to go on the road, going everywhere and watching me ride. And that was the hardest part, was explaining to him that I was done.
Yeah.
Because we got in the RV, we had 28 hours to drive back. It was,
Right.
you know, after neck surgery, I was not feeling so good. And he's like, where are we going, next rodeo? I was like,
Dang.
no, buddy. I was like, those days are over with. What do you mean? And I was like, I can't ride bulls anymore. And he's like, well, why? And I explained it to him. I said, you know, the doctor pretty much said if I land on my head again, a pretty good chance I'll die or I'll be stuck in a wheelchair the rest of my life. And, and I finally got it. He finally understood, like, and one day I was headed them barns and I still had my neck brace on. I was headed over there and he said, Dad, I'll go with you. I said, why? He said, well, you're working those bulls today, aren't you? I said, yeah. He said, you don't need to get in there. I don't want you to get hurt.
Oh.
They can hook me. I don't want you to get hurt. I said, buddy, you don't worry about your daddy. I said, you just wait till you're a little bigger before you start getting in there with them.
That's adorable. Golly.
But
Dare I say cute.
Yeah.
That's adorable.
It is. And at the same time, I was watching him ride that pony the other day and standing with Samantha. I'm like, oh my God, he's got JB's fearlessness. I'm like, God help us all.
Well, Samantha's seems like that same.
Oh, yeah.
So like he's
Are
got
you
it
kidding?
from both sides of the family.
That's what she was telling him to slow down. I'm like, really? You're telling him to slow down on a horse?
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, you know, the day Randy got on Snack Pack,
Yeah.
he was standing over there, and Randy had to use my boots and spurs, and so they were sitting there. Well, I look over, and Jagger had put them on. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm going to get on him.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I said, all right. I wanted to see what he was going to do, you know, in the chute. So I run him back in, loaded him. I put the bull rope on him. I said, all right. And Tyler Taylor was there. I was like, Tyler, you get a hold of him, because I still have my neck brace on and stuff. I said, I don't want to, you know. I said, you hold him. He said, all right. Sets him down in there, and this son of a gun, just like he'd been doing it his whole life, takes his wrap by himself. And it was funny because he took his wrap, and I mean straight through the pinky.
Yeah.
Just buries it. Tyler's like, oh, man, just buries it deep in the pinky. He said, just like Dad. And he was on there, and I said, hey, you better get your feet in front of your rope. He just pushes his hand and picks his legs up, holds the bucket chute, sets them in front of his rope, just sets right up on him. That old muley went to rolling around in there. He just slaps him. And I said, what do you tell him now? Let's go, boys. And I said, all right, get up out of there. And somebody said, man, there's no backup. I said, none.
No.
Like, it does not matter what I load. Like, he thinks he can ride every one of them. And if I tell him, hey, you can get on him, he'll be headed that way.
Yeah.
And I mean, it kind of scares me because, which I'm always around him right now, but, you know, when he gets a little older, I don't, you know, sneaking off. But, I mean, if he wants to ride bulls, he'll have plenty of bulls to get on. I'll make sure of that. But, you know, and I've got him, he's went with me enough, and I've worked bulls enough, just me and him around there. He knows, stay where I tell him to stay. You know, if there's a bunch of people around and everybody's talking, he'll just kind of run around them bucking shoots. But if it's just me and him, I'm like, hey, you stand right there and do not move.
Yeah.
Stands right there. Yes, sir.
Yeah, he'll listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
He is a natural on an animal. He's got that, whatever that is, that connection with the animal. How do you feel about watching him have a career like yours?
I mean, that's up to him. That's what everybody always, he's the next bull rider. And I said, I don't care what he does. You know, that's going to be up to him. It's the way he's raised and what he's around. It's going to be something to do with rodeo, whether it's roping or riding horses or riding bulls.
He loves it.
But that's his decision. You know, it was always told to me the day, if I don't want to go, all I had to do was say, I'm done. I don't want to go anymore. It was never pushed on me. I was never made to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm going to do with him. I'll let him choose his own path. And if he wants to ride bulls, I'll be there 100%. If he wants to team rope, I'll be there 100%. Whatever he does, as long as he does it to the fullest and 110% try, I don't care what he does. Makes no difference to me.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, you know, I can't say I wouldn't. I don't know. It's a lot of guys that ride bulls for a living say, I don't want my kid to ride bulls.
Yeah.
You know, but riding bulls has got me everything I have.
Yeah. So, how do you tell him? How do you tell him that? You built your whole life, your career, you raised your family with it.
Yeah.
How do you tell him that?
I mean, I'd have never met, if I wasn't to rode bulls, I'd have never met Samantha. You know, her dad was inducted into the Ring of Honor in the PBR, and that's where I met her. My whole place come from riding bulls, you know, winning, being able to build all that. And, you know, that's what, I'm beat up. I'm probably a lot more crippled than most 36-year-old people are, but I still get around pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to somebody say something like about their dad being crippled and old and, you know, talking about it being from rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, I bet they don't regret it. Like, not a day of it, you know?
Right.
Again, going back, because it's not like you did it for the money anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you know the risk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's part of it. That's why I always say you play the game, you take the pain. And that's why I always, if I could get up and walk, I was getting on. Like, whether something was broke or not, I always had it in my head that, you know, it's kind of a pride deal to me. Like, I wanted to prove to myself and that it didn't matter how beat up or crippled I was, I could still ride them. I could put it out of my mind for 8 seconds and still do it.
I saw Randy at the Run for a Million in August, and I hadn't talked to you in a couple months, and I was like, how's JB? And he's like, oh, he's good. He's doing good. He said, his leg's broke, but he's doing good. And I knew exactly what he meant, you know, like, well, it hangs down. So,
I didn't even know it was broke. Big old bull of Butler stepped on me at Greeley, a big one. And I mean, stepped right on it. He stepped down towards my ankle on my left leg. Well, when they x-rayed it at Greeley, they didn't x-ray it high enough. So I just kept right on getting it, going. Yeah. And I mean, this thing was sore and swole up and limping around. Hell, I was 90 at Vernal. And we went somewhere in Colorado after that, and I was sitting there in Shad Smith. It holds a lot of bulls for Chase and Binion and them. We were sitting there drinking coffee one morning. I had shorts on, and he's looking at my leg, and he's like, "You had that leg checked out?" I was like, "No." He said, "Doesn't look very good." I said, "Doesn't feel very good." He said, "Is it hot?" I said, "I don't know. I don't have very good feeling in my hands. Like, I can't really tell." And he leaned over and put his hand on it. He said, "You might want to go to the doctor." That was some bitch was infected.
Ooh.
And where he stepped on me down towards my ankle, it just peeled hide off the size of a nickel. You know, it wasn't even big, but I guess it got infected that way. Well, went in there. They said, "Oh, yeah, it's infected. We'll put you on antibiotics." I said, "All right." And they said, "We're going to x-ray it." I said, "Well, they x-rayed it when it happened in Greeley." "Well, we're going to re-x-ray it." Whatever. They x-rayed it from my knee down, and my fibula was snapped in half. Dang. About 5 inches below my knee.
How long?
It was 2 or 3 weeks I'd been going. And that I guess what they said, we see it a lot. You know, he stepped on me down by my ankle. So when he stepped on me, it snapped up high.
Yeah.
And we left right after that and went to Calgary. Like, I had a walking boot on at Calgary. I only wore it a couple of days. It made it easier to walk around, but it was aggravating as hell. So I threw it in the truck or in the side box on the RV. And we got somewhere. I can't remember where I went. And my left, like, I had that walking boot. Well, they were messing with my right ankle after I hung up and Bull stomped me, and it was swelled up bad. And they were like, well, he's like, I think it's broke. You need to go get some x-rays. So I was like, no. He said, why? I said, well, I'm not going to let them cast it. I'm going to keep riding. So what's the point in even getting an x-ray? Well, just to know. I was like, it'll heal eventually. He said, probably not the way you want it. I was like, oh, that'll just fit right in with the rest of me. And the lady in the sports medicine trailer, she's like, do you still have that other walking boot? I said, yes, ma'am. It's in the RV. She said, just put it on the other leg. So I just swapped it and wore it.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet you don't have a straight bone in your body.
Not very many.
But they say when they heal, they're stronger.
Yeah,
right?
that's horseshit.
No.
If they heal correctly.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, most of mine are probably healed like this.
Man.
Instead of like that.
It's like for years, I was like, my collarbone, I thought healed correctly. And then Tandy went to, I had put both my fists up like this right here because this collarbone had broken, and this, we called it the quack shack at A&M. That doctor was like, oh, yeah, it's fine. But for years I went and.
Y'all gonna talk for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead and go to the bathroom. And put my hands up like this, and he went to push down on both of them, and this right one just caved down. It had been like that for years, like riding. And like on Bronx, I'm right-handed.
Is that how you broke it initially? Riding?
Yeah. So I broke it in New Braunfels on a bull, stepped on me.
How old were you?
I don't know. I mean, it was maybe 12 years ago, 13, 14 years ago.
So were you still, because that's, in men, that is the.
It was 2010. It was 2010.
That's why the men, grown men, their shoulders get bigger. That's the last thing that happens because that's still growing. But that's why they break so many collarbones in high school football and stuff.
No, I wasn't in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, so re-broke it 3 weeks later. That's the most pain I think I've been in. And then broke it again in a couple summers ago. And then
I remember that.
And Tandy was like, it should heal. Year later, didn't heal.
I know. You sent me that x-ray. It was like.
The bones weren't touching.
No. There was like this much space.
Yeah, it's like half an inch between my collarbones.
That's supposed to be one bone, right?
Yeah.
You got two.
So anyways.
They're not connected.
He's like, yeah, let's have surgery. And then I come out of surgery, and that was the most pain I'd been in. I don't know if there wasn't enough. That nurse wasn't feeding me enough morphine or whatever. But that was the most pain I'd been in coming out of that surgery. So
like
now
you can ask for more.
I'll go tonight to Dallas, and I'll have shoulder surgery tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And he said, you're going to want to stay the night after because you'll be in a lot of pain.
Oh,
and I'm sitting here thinking like, well, you didn't say nothing about the pain I was in with the collarbone. And I know how much that hurt.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
What are they doing to your shoulder?
He's going to graft a bone and put it on the front of that little socket and screw that bone in there. Because I guess when my shoulder keeps coming out the front, it's come out 5 times, and it's breaking off that bone. So essentially, like it's getting to where it starts falling out. Like the last time it came out, I was trying to turn a horse to the right, and he was running off with me. So I kind of jerked around to the right, and my shoulder just rolled out. And so I was horseback running. And he was like, yeah, it's about to start coming out in your sleep. And if we don't put it back in, you'll be.
Shoulder surgery's fun.
Oh, we've been there.
Is it painful though? Like coming out of it, like that, like you wake up.
The first one I had,
Yeah,
absolutely 100%.
really.
Did
Horrible.
they put the pain block in? Because I had
The nerve block?
yes.
Yeah, mine didn't work.
Oh hell. See, I told him I've had 4 in the last few years, and I had the nerve block. My whole face went numb. I couldn't feel my hand. I'm like, yeah, I'll ride this out for 3 days.
Yeah,
I'll just lay here on one side.
He
not
was
feeling anything.
Because when I had my shoulder surgery, when I tore it up at Calgary, like the skin was the only thing holding my arm on. Like he was explaining how bad it was going to be and everything, the physical therapy, all this, and
They had to reattach everything.
yeah. There's a screw and 13 anchors in it, and he would, they take me in the morning and put that shot in your neck. This is a nerve block. When you wake up, don't freak out. It'll be like you don't even have an arm for like 24 hours. I'm like, perfect. I don't want to feel this.
Right.
I woke up and I immediately felt it. I was
Yeah.
like, holy crap. Well, Samantha's sitting in there, and I just kept wiggling around. She's like, what's wrong? I was like, I just can't get comfortable. I was like, I'm not a puss. They told me I couldn't feel this thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't say anything. Well, Tandy finally walks in, comes in there to check on me, and he's like, hey, well, I mean, I was like, this son of a gun hurts. He said, what? I was like, it hurts bad. He said, wiggle your fingers. And I went, he said, you're not supposed to be able to do that. He goes, oh, the nerve block didn't work. He said, let me go get you some pain medication. I said, I would greatly appreciate it. You talk about hurt. Good Lord.
Yeah. Because the
second surgery wasn't near as bad, though.
They can't do anything after the fact. I mean, that they've got to stop that before it starts.
Yeah.
That's the point.
They said something about nicotine or something probably had to do with the nerve block not working or something. I don't know. Some crap.
I'm as clean as a preacher's sheets. What are you talking about?
That's probably what's wrong with my shoulder. It made me quit smoking. Probably didn't heal right.
Yeah, the last podcast I did with Marcus Luttrell, he was talking about injuries and whatnot, and he was saying that, like, listening to you talk about all that you've been going through, he was like, all these injuries are God's way of telling you this is a young man's sport and it's about your time to stop, you know? And it made me think about that conversation you were talking about having with Randy. But looking back, when you made the switch from PBR to PRCA, who are some of the people that you started to run with, and like you're like, you found yourself like, man, I got these new friends, like that maybe like now you still got, for instance, Kai. Like, who are some of those guys that you're like, oh, that's cool that, you know, switching over here to the PRCA?
Well, I knew a lot of them, you know, from like Calgary and things like that. But, you know, Kyle was one of them, Stetson, you know, and that was a thing. Like, when me and Brian and Casey, we cracked out and started going to PBRs, Pee Wee, Brian Herman, Tater Porter, they got in with us that summer and went on the summer run. And I couldn't figure it out. I was like, man, these guys are like, you know, they're in their 30s. We're 20. You know, what are they going with us for? But like Tater told me, he said, the way you guys crave it and act makes us feel younger.
Sure.
And so being around Kai and Stetson, it made me feel like I was younger than I really was, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And just being around them, and like Kai coming to the house and getting on practice bullets, you could tell, like, I would show up and you didn't have to ask that son to get on bullets. He's like, hey, can we buck bullets today? Yep.
Yeah.
You know, he just craved it. And being around that, I mean, that was one thing I was always taught when I was young. You're only as good as the guys you travel with.
Yeah.
You know, so, and you travel with good guys.
Right.
And that was the rule of thumb. Like, I didn't let just anybody jump in with me. Like, you know, if you rode good, perfect. But if you had a negative attitude, you can go with me.
Yeah.
Because everybody in the truck had the same goal when you went with me, and that was stay on and win and have fun doing it. And, you know, that was kind of the same deal when we started rodeo, and I had Samantha and Jagger with me. But, you know, the PBR was like that when I first started going to it. It was fun, you know. I'm not just saying because they had beer in the locker room, but, you know, when the bull ride was over with, everybody would hang out in the locker room because they had, you know, beer in there. So we'd hang out and chill out, and everybody hung out together. Well, then the longer the bull ridings went on, it kind of got away from that. Like, nobody really hung out anymore. You know, they took the beer out of the locker room, things like that. Well, it was like you fly in, you go to the event, you go home. That was it. There was no hanging out. There was, like Flint always explained it, there was no campfires. You know, just sit around and bullshit and just have a good time.
Yeah.
There was none of that anymore. And, you know, I was kind of getting burnt out doing the same thing. Seeing, you know, everybody said, well, before I started going to rodeos, they said, well, what's your favorite place? I said, they all look the same. You know, every weekend you were going to an indoor event. The setup was the same. The arena might be a little smaller, maybe a little bigger, but it was same. You were inside. And like I had 15 years of doing it, I needed a change finally. Like it got to where it was a job to me and not fun anymore. And I always told Samantha, I said, the day it turns into a job is the day I'm done. You know, because, you know, you do this for fun. You do it because you love it. It's not a job. And it was like I was didn't want to be there, and it just wasn't fun anymore for me. And
Yeah.
so I said, hell, I'm going to buy my PRCA stuff back and go rodeo. We bought an RV, and boy, it was the most fun I had in a long time.
Yeah.
You know, because you go, is in that RV, and I mean, you know, sometimes we'd go one place and have to leave and go, but if, you know, Cheyenne, take the RV, set it up, everybody, when it's over with, everybody hangs out, you sit around, drink beer, and talk, and have a good time, and that's what I wanted Jagger to see, you know.
Yep.
He got to hang out and got to hang around badass people, you know, and it was cool, it was fun.
Yeah. I took this next Rodeo Time episode that's coming out is Ty and Carson. Ty's getting on bulls, Carson's getting on broncs, and they're going to their first rodeos. And it was in October. And so the first one we went to was Bryan. And I love that arena. I love that community. I've been on a lot of bulls and horses in the Bryan Expo, or Brazos County, whatever it is, and great facility. And that was their first rodeo. Well, the second night we went to Rockdale, and it's a huge, you know, fair, and you got to drive through the fair, and then, you know, contestant parking's kind of mixed in with the whole crowd, and then you walk through the crowd and you get over here, and when you're all standing on the back of the buck and chute, you can see the Ferris wheel, and you can kind of see the livestock show over there because it's their, you know, the whole deal. And we're standing back there with Carson. I was like, hey, well, now you can officially say this ain't my first rodeo. And I was like, what do you think? And he was like, this is what I've dreamt of as a kid. You know, it was like, he said, last night was fun and I love it. And when it's raining and cold, those buildings are super convenient.
Yeah.
But right now, standing on the back of these chutes, this feels like America. You know, it feels like rodeo, feels like cowboy, and this is what I envisioned. And, you know, when I can imagine, I haven't spent much time in PBR arenas, but like going to these little rodeos, like you just think of all these little ones that it's just like you pull up and you just feel like, man. What's really cool is when you can get like Coleman, Texas, you know, where it's like Stace Smith puts it on. So, you know, Jason Bottoms and Sean Calhoun are picking up, or Clint Hale. So you've got like NFR quality pickup men and the same caliber bullfighters, and then the same caliber horses and broncs, but everything else is what I just described, you know? And so like
the whole town comes out. The
whole town comes out, and you don't know where they come from, especially in something like Coleman.
Yeah.
Where do all these people come from?
Right.
And anyhow, like that's something I've always just like, and explaining it to Joe Rogan, you know, you're standing on the back of the chutes and they start playing the national anthem. He's like, man, I just don't understand why people, it's just like, that's the epitome of freedom. You know, you get to go where you want. You get to rodeo how you want. And every night's a party, and you're that hangout, that campfire feeling like what you talked about.
Yep.
And occasionally a song will come along that kind of captures it. Amarillo by Morning, Cody Johnson's Only Life I Know. My brother had that song, If I Don't Call, has that song. And, you know, they kind of communicate it, but you really can't even until you're standing behind the chutes.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what, when I decided to make the change, which I had my PRCA card in 2009.
Yeah.
So it'd been 11 years since I'd had one.
Right.
And, you know, I bought it back, but I needed pretty much a change of scenery.
Yeah.
That's all it was. I was getting burnt out doing the same thing every weekend, flying in, flying out. Just got tired of flying. I hated going in the airport. I hated all that. And I was like, I got to do something different.
Well, you went to 15 world finals in a row. That's a decade and a half. That's not just a decade. Add another half decade, you know?
I'm going to check the math on that.
Like, so it's not like you went to 2 or 3 years and then decided that you were done. Like it's 15 and a half.
Yeah. And another one of my goal was I always wanted to make the NFR.
Yeah.
Because growing up, I didn't strictly just watch the PBR. You know, I watched rodeos also. Because in high school, I worked multiple events. A couple years of high school rodeo, so I was more used to going to rodeos than just strictly bull riding. And, you know, right before me and Brian turned 18, we asked Jerome, hey, where do you think we ought to go? Should we buy our PBR permits or PRCA permits? He said, you want to make a living riding bulls? Yeah, go to the PBR. So that's where we went.
Yeah.
You know, back then, I'd get on 10 bulls a day when I was at home. You know, Brian and I, before we turned 18, we got on 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. You know, every day of our lives we got on bulls. And, you know, 2006, 7, and 8, you know, I'd been going to just strictly PBRs and stuff, and I would enter open bull rides when I was at home and things like that. Well, then, 09, I decided, I didn't ask anybody, didn't tell anybody. I just decided I was going to buy my PRCA permit. Didn't have a clue how to enter, nothing. Never asked anybody. Went to Fort Worth, was my first rodeo, was winning it going into the short round, and was at a PBR and couldn't make it back to the short round. But that's how I started.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I only actually went during the weeks because I was always at bull ridings on the weekends. You know, I won Lufkin, I won Corpus Christi, I won a bunch of them rodeos that summer. And the last one I went to in 09 was 1,000 added circuit rodeo with David Bailey's in Poto, Oklahoma. We were in Freedom at Jerry's rodeo.
Yeah.
I was 90 there, and then Nashville was Saturday, Sunday. I was in Freedom on Thursday night, so I had to go to Nashville, Tennessee, and I was like, shit, Poto's on the way. I'll just enter it. 1,000 added circuit rodeo. I get hooked, wrecked out, stomped, bad.
Yeah.
And bull stomped the crap out of me. And Scotty Fritz, he worked for David Bailey. He gets up, and they always called me Tar Baby. The first time they met me from being from North Carolina, but the first time they ever met me, I had a black bull at Fort Worth of David's called Tar Baby.
Uh-huh.
So that's what they always called me, Tar Baby. And I got up, and Fritz, he's the one that drug me out from under this mean son of a gun. He said, "You all right, Tar Baby?" I said, I said, "This shit don't hurt near as bad when you make the whistle." I was bleeding. Come find out, it broke my damn collarbone. He stepped on me when he jumped across the top of me right there. Well, I got to Nashville, and he's like, "Oh, yeah." So I got to ride for I don't know how long, and the brace that pulled my arm, you know.
Yeah.
Casey, that was his deal. Casey Hayes wore the face mask.
Yep.
So I was always the one that strapped his face mask on. Well, for a while, he was the one that had to strap my collarbone deal. I'd take my shirt off, put it on, he'd strap it in the middle, and I'd put my shirt
So
back
you
on.
got on in Nashville that next day. Yeah. So you started with rodeos, little stint in 09, came back to rodeos, and then at the end of your career, finished with rodeos.
Yeah.
So what do you think Jagger will do? I mean, whatever he wants.
Yeah.
You said that.
That's what he I bought my card back in 2010, was going to try to do the same thing. I always wanted to make both finals in the same year. And, man, they were stacking me on top of bull ridings everywhere I entered. And I just got tired of messing with it, so I just said, heck with it. I didn't go back to them. And then, you know, I'd see them guys at Calgary and stuff, get to go there at Calgary, and, you know, Cheyenne, when the PBR was there, we'd go hang out at the rodeo and stuff like that. And then, you know, by the time I was done in the PBR, none of the original guys I rode bulls with were still even riding. So, you know, it was all a couple of, you know, Savano and them were there, but the locker room had changed. Like, it was totally different atmosphere, and I just wasn't having any fun. So I decided I want to go rodeo. And whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
That's up to him. That's his decision.
You reach that point, you're that guy at the club who's a little too old to be at the club.
Yeah.
Well,
hanging out in the corner.
Also, like, again, a decade and a half, 15 years. So if you were to talk to Jerome, his advice may be a little different. Because if you look at guys like, for instance, Stetson, obviously he had, you know, the bronc riding helping him with that, but, you know, had almost $1 million last year.
Yeah.
You know, or was it the year before? I can't remember now. But so maybe Jerome's advice is just a little different 15 years later. Well, now 17, 18 years later. Because, it would be 18 because you're 36. But, I mean, I'm not saying at all, like, forget about the PBR. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying, like, there's also a lot of big rodeos where.
Well, the way they have it set up now, you can about go to both.
Yeah.
You know, because half the year's the regular season.
Oh, yeah, the
PBRs,
team deal. They switched
and then
it.
the other half's the team deals. So you could technically, go rodeo and go to the team deals also.
Mm-hmm.
Do rodeo during the week, then go to the team deals on the weekends or whatever. But
so think about when you were starting out with the crew that you were with. What would 36-year-old JB tell these guys? What would you tell them?
maybe not spend as much money. Well, hang on. Maybe not blow as much money. Because we live like there was no tomorrow.
Like whenever you won, you just
Oh, man. Hell, I showed up one time and won a bull ride, and I bought a brand new pickup decked out. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but, I mean, it was Western Holler bed. And then I come home, won the bull riding one weekend, and come pulling back in the house and had a dirt bike and a dune buggy on the trailer.
Yeah. And Brian was the same way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was bad when we would get in the bar because just like riding bulls, we tried to outdo each other. So if I ordered a tray of Jaeger bombs, Brian had to order a tray of Jaeger bombs. Well, then I was going to order another tray of Jaeger bombs. Well, then so was he going to order another tray of Jaeger bombs. And then we didn't know what happened the rest of the night. But we were broke when we woke up. But I wouldn't change anything. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably wouldn't have blew so much.
Yeah.
But, I mean, hell, you ride bulls for a living, there is no tomorrow. You got to plan for today.
You can't take it with you when you're done either.
No, but
Right.
I've never seen a hearse with a luggage rack.
So like trying to explain, some of these guys come in here and like I see some guys get on bulls, and I've had one intern that, I just so hard on themselves after coming back from a buck off.
Mentally.
Yeah, just so hard on themselves. Right. And you need to want to win. But there's some balance to, like, once you get on this next bull, if you take that previous loss with you too much, you're just gonna
It just rolls over.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to figure out that too, because JB's worst enemy was JB.
Right.
It's all above your shoulders, and I used to be real bad. Get so mad at myself, for getting, and not necessarily if I got bucked off. If I felt like I didn't try as hard as I should have, like if I quit the ship just a little early, that's when you seen me get real mad, because it would eat at me. Because I prided myself on, I tied my hand in there where I meant for it to be there. And if I turned my head and thought I took the easy route out instead of just taking a slamming like I should have, that's what ate at me.
Yeah.
And I would get so mad at myself, and then it would snowball. It'd show up my next riding because you're tight. You're just trying too hard.
Yeah.
You're not. And it took me quite a few years to figure that out, to where if I get bucked off or whatever, I was mad. But when I left that locker room, didn't matter.
Yeah.
Nobody gave a shit. Tomorrow's a new day. Nobody gives a crap what happened yesterday. So once I started learning that and got that way, I hardly ever got in slumps. Because I didn't let it roll over. It didn't snowball. And, that was the hardest thing for me, was keeping my head out of my way.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a rule on the beaches. If you double grab or look off, you don't get to get on another one that day. Like you gotta live with it till the next practice. And it happened the other day. It's been a while since it happened, but this last practice there was one kid, and he knew, and I asked him, he knew what I was going to say, but I was like, "Hey, you want another one?" And he knew I was just setting him up, and he was like, "I guess if you'll give me," I said, "Nope, you cannot double grab." It was, and I was like, "You can't look off." And we got video now, and when that cowboy hat does that little turn, it's like, because you're not here today. If you didn't show up and you're not here, like if you don't want to fight and try today, then come back tomorrow. Go think about it, like putting a kid in timeout or something. Like, go think about it, because I don't know. Like,
I mean, it's you're either all in or you're all out. There's no in between in this sport.
Right.
So did you get to the point, we all watch you. We've watched you in your process, that last cigarette, and then the hats on and you got the look like you can't see anything but that bull. You can see it in the TV camera, and you're ready. So, what did it take for you to get there, where you're in that preparation and it's all just you and the bull?
Repetition. You know, you do it. You do the same thing every single time. When I laid my gear bag down, I took everything out the same way. Every single time. When I put it back in there after I was done, I put it back in my bag the same way every single time. When I crawled in the buck and shoot, I got on every bull the same way every single time. And, you know, once you do it enough, it's just, and bull riding's a lot to do with muscle memory and repetition. If you do it enough, your body just starts doing it. It's just an automatic reaction. You don't have to think about it. Because if you think riding bulls, you're usually getting off the ground. You're in it, you know. And, like, you know, today I'm going to get him on the drop barrel to show him a few things. And then that's how you ride it every single time. Repetition. Well, then when he goes to get on a bull, and if he does it enough on this, then it'll be instinct. It'll be automatic. You know, like, sometimes, you know, while they're riding, I'll holler at them and stuff, but I try not to tell them a whole lot before they get on, because then they're thinking, well, I need to do this, I need to do that. Well, once you crawl off in that buck and shoot, you better not be thinking about anything. It all just has to, you know, come. That's why I wait till he's done, and then I come over there and I tell him, you know, keep driving them hips, keep them up under you, you know, things like that, because you don't want to put too much in their head before they're getting on, because then that's what they're thinking about.
Yeah.
And you do it enough, it's all repetition. And then once you get there, like, everybody knew, like, you can kind of tell when I would get in my zone. Like, you know, I'd be on the back of the buck and shoot, goofing off, jacking around, talking shit to everybody. And then, but when it was certain time, like, you could just look at me and tell, all right, I probably don't need to talk to him now.
Yeah.
You know, it was just, I got in the zone, and, you know, I was always like that. Like, I could sit here and talk just like this, and they'd be like, JB, you're next, and then I could click it on. That was go time.
Yeah. Man.
But that comes from getting on thousands and thousands of bulls.
But you did you plan that? Did you know that was coming?
Not really. I mean, it's just what I got used to.
Yeah.
You know, like,
you could control all those things in the rigging bag.
Yep.
How you get in the chute. You can control those.
Yep.
You can't control the bull. So I've heard other riders talk about this. You just get in that process where you're like, okay, I've got my stuff down.
Yeah.
Now it's just the bull's turn.
I think we were driving down the road. We left your house the other day. I was talking to Ty, because I can think of there's one guy in particular, does not work out, and has never, he said he's been on 2 practice bulls ever, but he'd been in the NFR 5 or 6 times. Not won a world title, but been in the NFR 5, 6 times. So he doesn't do either one. There's a lot of guys that will work out and maybe not get on practice bulls, maybe a little here and there. And then you've come from the school of, you get on a lot of practice bulls, even at the end of your career. You know, like, one of my most viewed videos on YouTube is you getting on a practice bull, like, right before your 15th World Finals. And anyways, I think I think I would categorize people's mindset of what to do outside of the arena in those 3 buckets: practice bulls, work out in practice bulls, and then nothing. And I told these guys, like, I was like, I think that nothing will replace getting on bulls. There's no, you can work out a lot, you can be the strongest man in the world, but, like, nothing's going to replace getting on broncs, getting on bulls. But for every bull you got on at a bull riding, how many practice bulls do you think you got on for every one of those?
Oh, probably times 10.
Yeah.
At least. I mean, you know, even when I did that's what, you can't be satisfied. If I was 90, 92, road bruiser, I went home and broke down that ride from jump to jump and figured out what I should have been doing better. and then I got on bulls.
Yeah.
When you break a leg or something, yeah, you might want to slack. I mean, there was times I've got on practice bulls with broke ankles and things like that. I just put lace-ups on and got on, and half the time I'd get on tennis shoes,
Yeah.
make me move and stuff like that. But it's just like any other sport. Like there are some guys that are the opposite side of the coin that don't get on practice. Stetson don't get on practice bulls hardly.
Yeah.
Not very many.
Right.
And like I'm pretty sure he hasn't ever been on at my house.
Really?
When Kyle was getting on all those bulls, I don't think he ever got on. He's like, I don't really get on practice bulls. Well, that works for him. Whatever. And that's what I've told people. I said, you don't have to do it like I do it.
Yeah.
One, you have to work at it, and you better be studying it every day. I said, but whatever works for you is what you stick with.
Yeah.
If you go to the gym that day and then you go to a bull riding that night and you win the bull riding and you've got it in your head that, well, I need to go to the gym every day before I go to the bull riding, then that's what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I'm telling them not to work out or not to get on practice bulls or get on practice bulls. You do what works for you.
Yeah.
And I can understand guys, well, the practice pen, you get hurt. Well, yeah, there's a chance. Every time you nod your head, there's a chance. But what does a baseball player do?
Yeah.
Practices baseball.
Plays every day.
You if you don't want to get on practice bulls, fine, but you still got to work at it. You
Right.
know? And I was the type that I got on bulls every chance I could. One, because I wanted to get better and I wanted to be the best. And two, because I loved getting on bulls.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have to have a reason to get on bulls. Like hell, you want to buck some bulls today? Yep, let's go. Like we went and loaded them. And if we didn't, we were looking for somebody that was bucking bulls.
You also you study animals.
Yeah.
You remember. It's remarkable, and I brought this up in one of our first podcasts when you brought JP. As long as I've known you, you remember details.
Oh yeah.
Of all the animals, and I know I've talked to Chad Berger about this too, and he's Chad Berger, and he can tell you everything about his bulls.
Yeah.
When they eat, how they move, how they get in and out of the trailer, and you do that.
Oh yeah. That's why when I buck them young bulls, if you it looks like I'm watching a buck, I'm not. I'm watching their feet. And then I'll go back and watch videos. That's why I usually got somebody around there videoing so I can watch the videos back. Because, when you first start bucking them young bulls, you don't know what side to put them on. I start every bull on the left because rule of thumb is most bulls are naturally left-leaded. And so I always start them on the left, but I'm watching what foot. And some of them that go out there 2 or 3 and then turn back, it's because they're trying to swap leads.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'll just like riding bulls, when I'd slow it down, watch it jump from jump, I'd do that with them young bulls, see which foot they're hitting first. And it's not 100% accurate. It don't work 100% of the time,
right.
But like there's been bulls, you watch, and they'll go 3 before they turn back. It's because it took them 3 jumps to get swapped from the left lead to the right lead. Well, I swap them, put them on the right, hell, they turn back right and they go to the right. You got to figure them out. And it don't always work, but it has quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And going
well,
back
your odds are getting better every time.
Yeah.
Because you remember more details.
Well, Samantha, like I was hurt one time and I can't remember what was wrong with me. Well, she had to help me feed. and
Which she loves to do.
Yeah. Oh, not the bulls.
Oh.
Yeah, the way I've got it set up, you got to go in there with all of them. And I did that on purpose. A lot of people have it where you drive down the side of the alley, you know, and dump the feed in a trough and they stick their head through and eat it. I didn't want it like that. I wanted it where you had to open the gate, go in there with them. And because the only way to calm them down is to be around them.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you're going to have to feed. I can't remember what was wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'd done, but I couldn't pick those feed buckets up. And it was her and Jagger and I was in the side by side. And I'd pull right in there, in one of them traps, and there's 4 or 5 bulls in there. And, they know it's feed time, and they'll walk right up beside you.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't like this. She's like, what do I do? And I was like, act like you're not paying attention, but pay attention. She's like, what does that mean? I was like, that's the thing. You gotta be. I call it being bull savvy.
Yeah.
Like you
Just
gotta
be cool,
act, you gotta
Samantha.
act like just be chill, act like you're not paying them any attention, but you always watch them out of the corner of your eye. Like right now, I'm looking at Dale. You know, you always you know because you can't trust them some of the guys. Yeah, they
No.
get gentle when you feed them, but still, one of them has a bad day and smokes your ass when you're not looking.
Right.
And so I said, you gotta pay attention, but don't let them know you're paying attention. She's like, I don't like this. Find somebody else to help you.
Yeah, because predator will stare at them. So don't do that.
Yeah. Well, I think going back to the practice deal, like one thing too, for instance, our program, I get a lot of guys in here. They've been on like 5 or 10 or 0 mostly. Most of the time
Right.
it's 0. And so talking about practice being like, there's also a level of bulls a guy needs to get on in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, man, you are going to go broke if all you do is enter. And so, like, I would like these guys. Like, if you're asking my advice, you know, I want you to get on 50, 60, you know, head of stock before you enter, if not more, maybe. Now, the other thing to consider is some of them are coming in here, they're 22, 23. So it's like,
A little
all right,
late.
let's go ahead and start. Let's
Yeah.
start entering at, you've been on 35 head. Well, let's start entering. You know what?
Yeah.
Well, if you're 17, you know, it's not as important that you know, maybe take a little time to get on 100 bulls before you go enter the big pen, because, you know, there's just a level of, like, regardless, I feel like you didn't have to tell yourself it's time to go to the next level of bull.
No, I got on, like, I had some pretty honky practice bulls. And a lot of people, like, I would haul them open bull ridings around North Carolina and stuff and buck them. They're like, man, you haul these bulls to PBR? I'm like, no. What do you do with them? I said, they're my practice bulls. This is what you get on for practice? Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, they buck. I said, well, you think I'm going to go get on an 18-pointer this weekend?
Yeah.
You know, and that was why I think that was part of the reason why I always had a hard time with bulls that were just nice.
Yeah.
Because even at home, I was getting on some pretty bucky son of guns in the practice pen. And if, you know, then when I was getting on, if they didn't fire and buck, you know, it was kind of like I was just sitting up there just twiddling my thumbs waiting on them to buck, you know, and
Right.
I'd get bucked off. But, you know, I moved up every time. Like, I started riding sheep when I was 3, but I moved up always a year earlier than I was supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was 5 when I started getting on calves. I think 7 or 8 when I started getting on steers. Can't remember how old I was when I got on junior bulls. And then I was 13 when I started getting on big bulls.
Yeah.
And I'd go to open bull ridings, anything. And then when I started gathering up practice bulls, they bucked. You know, I didn't go by, like, there was a guy there. It was set up perfect for anybody to ride bulls where I lived then. You know, it's kind of died off about like everywhere else. Like, you know, back then you could dang near go to an open bull riding almost every night of the week and never go past 4 hours from my house.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a guy that hauled bulls to, you know, the high school rodeos that had some jam up, sure enough, good practice bulls to get on. So I could have mine at the house. If I needed to slow things down, I could go to his house and get on, you know. And a lot of times you need to slow things down.
Yeah.
You know, because just like that was my problem. I was going 9-0 all the time. The time. Well, then I'd get on one that was a 20-point spinner, and I'm wanting to be 94. He's only wanting to be 84.
Yeah.
It don't match up too good. So I'd have to go home. I'd put my tennis shoes on, and I'd get him to run 3-year-olds in. He'd never bucked and get on them just to make me slow down, track what I was getting on, and ride jump for jump. You know, a lot of guys won't get on calves now because they're shoot fighting. They're bad in there. You don't know what they're going to do. Well, that's what I grew up getting on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one reason I was so fast in the buck and shoot. You get flipped on enough times, you'll quit doing that shit taking that long. I mean, you get smashed in the back of that box and you have nowhere to go, and I'm claustrophobic. I don't like that.
Yeah.
But you know, you get on something, you absolutely have no idea what he's going to do.
Right.
You have to ride him jump for jump.
Yeah.
That slows everything back down, takes you back to doing the basics. And, you know, I'd do that, but then also I had those bulls at the house where we could run the heat in there, and I could get on those too.
Mm.
What You made a post a couple months back. I think it was in the spring, where you were kind of maybe venting, calling out bull riders,
dogging them guys. It was open bull riding. I think there's 1,000 added, and $1 entry fees.
Dang.
And one guy showed up.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't understand. Like, yeah, I was on the practice, but like, you know, guys, that's not necessarily practice. It is, but you're still getting paid.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I would go to those open bull ridings. And that's why, you know, like the last year I went to PBRs, you know, I'd set out for so long on my shoulder when I had the second surgery. And that'd been the longest I'd ever set out in my whole career.
Yeah.
Because I messed it up again at the finals, and he couldn't do the surgery on it till the start of 2020 because I'd broke my shoulder blade. So it had to heal before he'd do the shoulder surgery. So then that put me, you know, 2 months at the end of 19, 6 months in 2020. That's 8 months I didn't get on a bull, and that's the longest I'd ever not been on a bull in my entire life since I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and so coming back, you know, I was like, man, I know I need to get on practice bulls. But I was to the age that, like, I was like, I could get on one or two at the house a day and be okay, but I would get sore real fast. Like, I mean, I'd be hurting. And so that was another reason I bought my PRCA card back, because when I started going back, and like Cody Lambert called me after I went to the first event back.
Yeah.
And he said, did you buy your PRCA card? I said, yeah, I bought it back. He said, I think you need to go rodeo. I said, why? He said, well, I just hate to see you struggle. I was like, man, like, dude, I've just been sitting on my ass for 8 months. Give me a break. Like, I didn't even get on a practice bull before I came here.
Yeah.
Like, let me knock a little rust off for you. Said, well, it kind of pissed me off. And so I told Samantha, I said, watch this shit. I made their finals in like 5 bull ridings.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, how about that rust now? But that was one of the main reasons about buying my PRCA card was I was like, shoot, if I need practice, I need to get on bulls. Repetition. Get back in the groove of things.
Yeah.
But I was to the age, like, I was like, I don't need to kill myself off getting on practice bulls for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, kill 2 birds, 1 stone. Go to rodeos and bull ridings, get paid for practicing. Plus, so that's when I started. And in 21, the plan was I was going to go all summer. I was going to try to make both finals, you know, that year in 21. Well, when we took off and started rodeoing, hell, I was having so much fun, I never went back to PBR.
Yeah.
And then that's how we got to where we're at.
Well, that's another side of the conversation, that it's hard for you to make a blanket statement about getting on practice bulls. Because are you talking to 19-year-old JB Mauney, or are you talking to 35-year-old JB Mauney?
Yeah, I mean, it changes.
Had a dozen surgeries and this many knockouts, and you've won this much money, and you start realizing somebody, I can't remember who I was talking to. I think it was Jeremy Melanson. We used to rodeo together, and he was like, you get to that point in your career where you realize you got less time left than what's behind you.
And you don't want to waste it in the practice pen.
Than what's behind you. And you got less rodeos in front of you than what's you've been to. And there's a paradigm shift. Like, for instance, fighting bulls, there was a point, you know, watching Cody Webster. He's got everything. You know, he's a young man. He's 26, 27 years old. Like, he's still super young because he's been fighting bulls since he was 12. Well, as a bullfighter, like, I learned a lot from Corey Wall, and he was kind of that old school, like, you need to go to everything, fight, always be willing to freestyle, you know, because even if the rodeos, like, because there's 2 schools of thought, you know, some guys are just like strictly cowboy protection. They won't freestyle. But, you know, you get into the Corey Wall, Cody Webster, Dusty Tuckness, and a dozen of these other guys like Nate Jessis and them, and they're like really good freestyle bullfighters, like, you know, Weston and a lot of the young guys coming up even. But they and freestyling will be their way. You know, you learn to handle bulls. And if you can get around a really hot Mexican fighting bull, well, you're probably going to be able to handle one of Sammy Andrews' buckers who's got his hind end, in the sky. Like you can step around him pretty easy. So the better you freestyle, the better you can cowboy protect, hypothetically. Well, then you get to be Cody Webster, and there comes a point in your career where you've got Cheyenne and you've got San Antonio and Houston. You're working the NFR, you're working the PBR World Finals, you're working all these PBRs when you're not at these pro shows. Every big show in the PRCA, all the PBRs, both finals. And so there was a point where he was like, he maxed out on his capabilities, and it's like you literally can't accomplish anything more in pro rodeo. Okay, well, he probably doesn't need to then enter podunk bullfight, in eastern Oklahoma with 200 people in the stands to win $800. You know what I'm saying? And so like there was a shit. Now there is the side, like one day we did a Jared Outlaw. He's a YouTuber, and he hit 1.5 million subs, and he was going to get on a bull. So he came here and got on a bull. And so I had Webb here, and Webb was going to fight. And so Jared got on Baxter and just turned back, dumped him on his head. Webb didn't even have on a vest. But anyways, then he loaded this fighting bull that he had brought to add to the show, to add to the video. And Webb made a good point at the end of it. There's no added money. There's no crowd. There's no entry fees. Like, we're just having fun. And he had already been to half a dozen NFRs at the time. But so you still got to have that never die mentality. But there's a career decision that comes with, you get to a certain point, like you said, and but it's not like he hadn't already paid his dues.
Yeah.
Yep.
He had been in eastern Oklahoma podunk bullfight, with them bad dudes to win 800. He had done that, and it's not that he was scared of it. It was just a business decision for him at that point.
It was like that day I got on that practice bull.
Yeah.
We went 8 and we came back. I'm like, I'll load him.
Another one.
Yeah.
You got on a second
Yeah.
one.
I'm like, run him in there. And, you always have to have that attitude. Like I did it at the house one day. I had a pet Bremer that was there, and Hunter, he had got on him a couple of times. He just hogged around. Well, I was trying to talk some of them boys. I was like, just get on him. He's already loaded. No, we're not getting on him. No, we're not getting on him. I was like, piss on this. So I walked over and grabbed a flank, and I put it on him and just crawled on him. No, didn't even flank him. Just had a flank. Sung him bucked harder without a flank than when he did with a flank.
Yeah.
But I got on him, just slick heeled, no vest, anything like that. I was like, all right, go ahead. You got to have that mentality that
yes,
you can, the opportunity comes, you might as well take it. And I was always like that. Like, even when I was younger, we'd go get on practice bulls. Anchor Bull Company out of Virginia hauled some pretty good bulls of the PBRs for a while. And they had a big old tan-looking Bremer nub horn. They called him G. Wally. Dude, I knew the boys at Chad Ellison. They raised him. And he was mean. They'd been hauling him in PBRs and stuff. And we were up there. They canceled the Tuesday night bull riding they had in Virginia. But they were wanting to buck bulls, though. So a bunch of us, 4 or 5 of us, we go up there. And middle of the day, in the winter, it's inside, no heat. It's cold.
Yeah.
We're getting on bulls, and I can't remember how many I'd already been on. Well, they run the Bremer in there, G. Wally in there. They had him. They'd always bucked him out of the left, and they was wanting to try him out of the right. No bullfighters. Brad, the guy that had the bulls, he was fighting bulls in coveralls and mud boots.
Dang. And
when they rolled him into the buck and shoot, every one of them guys turned and looked at me. I'm like, what? Well, somebody's got to get on him. I said, well, I looked at him. I'm like, well, you got on one bull today. I've already been on 4 or 5. And they just kind of stood there. I was like, you bunch of girls, get out of my way. I just put my rope on him. I crawl in there. And I said, all right, let's go. That's probably the best trip he ever had. Around the end of the gate to the left, and I mean bucking.
Yeah.
Well, he was mean. I'm horrible at dismounting away from my hand. Like, I hated trying to do it. No bullfighters. Brad could step around him, but, I mean, he wasn't a bullfighter. Well, this son is bucking around the left. Like, could have been 88, 89 anywhere I went. And Brad steps to me. All right, get off of him. I reached down and I pulled my tail, and he would not jump out of it. He just kept getting it. get off of him. I'm like, oh, you better pick him up. I rode this sucker until he finally made him jump out of it, and I stepped off of him. Unfortunately, bull didn't buck very good after that.
Dang.
He broke him.
Yeah, like I probably rode this sucker in 20-some seconds. Like, I would not get off of him. I was like, because I knew if I tried to go to the outside, I was going to hang to him.
Right.
I knew that. And him being mean,
Yeah.
I was like,
There's that moment on the back of the chutes, though. Everybody's on the fence, and everybody stepped off of it one direction, and you stepped off of it the other.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a playful way to describe that moment where you said you got to have that. But like I was explaining to Marcus Luttrell when I went on his podcast a couple of years ago, and I was telling him the story. We got them knocker balls, you know, and there was that red bucking, that fighting cow that you bought from Webb.
yeah.
And Webb was taking him to your house. We stopped at my house, and we had a couple interns get in them knocker balls, and we were going to put them out there and with that
Just for fun.
with that fighting bull, because it's like, man, there's these knocker balls, like you're safe as
Yeah. What could possibly go
Yeah.
wrong?
like you're wrapped in your mother's arms, you know, as a baby. Well, we blow them up, and these summer guns are half the size as the normal ones that you see on the videos on the internet. And we were like, because like mid-thigh down is exposed.
Especially when one of the guys was as tall as me.
So we're sitting there looking at him, and we're like, we'll do it anyway. and Marcus stopped me. Navy SEAL, lone survivor, you know, overseas, multiple combat deployments, killing people, bad dude. He stopped me in that point of the story, and he said, never let go of that. Like that thing where it's just like you're on the fence.
I'll just do it.
We'll do it anyway. You know, he said, my deal was like just a playful thing, but like, and what he caught on to immediately, what he respected about the whole story and the industry was just that what you're talking about. Like, all right, step back, girls, I'll do it. And I think as a bull rider, bronc rider, bareback, anything rough stock specifically, cowboy in general, you have to have that little bit of like that man right there. Like you were probably standing there with him, Will Lowe.
Oh, yeah, I guarantee I was.
Will Lowe.
I was at the American.
Smoking that cigarette in the locker room.
I can tell the locker room.
Yeah, that's the American.
I was probably sitting on the other side of I probably was sitting in a chair over there.
Yeah, and maybe Wade Sundell was in there.
Oh, yeah.
A bear, a bronc, and a bull rider smoking a cigarette in the locker room. But that little bit of just, and I said this on the Rogan podcast, not to name drop, I've said that 3 times, but he was asking about guys wearing a cowboy hat. Yeah. He was like, is there do you kind of look at somebody different if they wear a helmet?
Yeah, that was good.
And I said, if you got 10 bull riders, 1 or 2 of them might be wearing a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Of the old school guys. Yeah. And I said, I don't endorse cowboy hat and cigarettes, but if you're
Man, they're delicious.
JB Mauney
I'll be back.
or maybe Will Lowe, those 2 individuals, there's just something about it.
Yeah.
There's just something about it.
Well,
I don't smoke, and any intern that comes to my house, you got to wear yourself a helmet.
It's that old school appeal.
Yeah.
You know? Like they're just out here to do this. And to challenge themselves against the animal.
I might have a little bit of a bias towards the cowboy hat just because like there was a special mentality my dad had when he would pull it down, and it was an American, by the way, plug. He would pull it down and it would crimp his ears just a little. And then that was in like fight mode, you know, for him.
You were explaining that to Joe.
Yeah. I tried to at the very beginning, you know, we were getting into it fast. And there's that fight mode where it turns your ears a little bit. Well, you know, I'd seen my dad have it a couple of times outside of the arena. Most of the time when I saw him, it was in the arena. And, you know, it's a cowboy hat. And so in my mind, it's just, there's this image of my dad with his hat pulled down and his ears turned over just a little bit, just ingrained in my brain. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why it looks so cool to me when you watch JB. But I mean, there's plenty of good bull riders and that's beautiful to watch Stetson Wright and even Sage and Sage, because I'm remembering, he wears a helmet too. watching those guys like just square up on a bull. So correct.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so pretty to watch them guys ride a bull.
That's a signal though that you can't get with a helmet. Hat comes down, ears go down a little bit, like, oh, stuff's about to happen.
Right.
But I'm not losing my hat
Yeah.
over it.
Right. Yeah. You had a brain bucket on a little. That's what you called it.
Yeah,
Your
brain bucket. I wore one for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember how old I was. My parents started making me wear one. I was probably 10.
Yeah.
And they said, if you want to ride, you got to wear a helmet. Well, back then, that was hardly anybody wore a helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Talk about stuck out like a sore thumb. And I was pissed. And, well, then I got used to it and just kept moving up. And, it, like I said, repetition. It was always habit. You know, I wore it and always wore it. So it just was a habit that, like I was still, I grabbed my helmet. And then it was 2011, I think, or 12. I was riding pretty crappy and went to get on some practice bulls, and for some reason I didn't get it out of my bag. Like, I got everything else out, and it was laying right there in my bag, and I grabbed my rope to get on some practice bulls, and I walked to the bucking chutes, and I had my hat on and never even thought twice about it. Nobody said anything to me. Like, I just put my rope on, never even thought about it, got on the road, and felt 100 times better.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, man, and never put it back on.
Dang. Yeah. Occasionally, I'll get on a bronc without a vest to just kind of like remind yourself of it, you know, and Jacobs did it this last couple of years. And that's not the same as a bull rider
Yeah.
wearing a cowboy hat.
Kai, he, you know, first this year at San Antonio, he was in a slump, riding kind of bad, and he asked me when we were down there, he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm going back to the house. Can I come up there and stay and get on practice bulls? I said, I'll buck bulls every day.
Yeah.
So he came, and I wasn't paying attention. You see, usually what I'm doing when we're bucking bulls, I'm either in the bag pins, tripping latches, flanking, doing something. So I wasn't paying attention. He's getting on. Well, he didn't get on his helmet that day. And I wasn't, you know. I was tripping the latch and everything. Well, we got it done. He said, man, that felt good. I said, looked pretty good. He said, I think I'm done with that. I was like, what are you talking about? He said, I can get on my helmet. I was like, I got to think it back. I was like, oh, that is right. And he said, yeah, I think I'm going to just not wear it anymore. And I was like, thanks. He said, what? I said, this is how it's going to go down.
Yeah.
You come to J.B. Mauney's house, get on practice bulls for a month, and then you go back not wearing your helmet. I said, I'm going to get blamed for every bit of that.
Right.
I said, thanks a lot.
Yeah. Well,
and I had 9 concussions growing up, and I was a hockey player.
So that's what it is.
Yes. I knew that. That comes every time I say that, by the way. So I'm used to that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the last 2, I was a hockey player. I was a goalie. And the last 2 were 3 weeks apart. It wrecked me, and I spent, you know, I couldn't play football or any contact sports after that and all that stuff. But the secret, you know, to saving my head wasn't the helmet. It was not playing hockey. You know, like if you're getting on a bull, like, you're going to get hurt.
right.
If that's your career.
That's what I told somebody. I said, even when I wore a helmet, I mean, I got knocked out more times with a helmet on.
Yeah, I hate to see it.
And, yeah, it saved me from stitches and things like that, getting hit in the face with a horn. But, I mean.
Yeah, it's not the hat. It's the bull riding.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
You know, and
Good point.
That's what I told somebody. He'd been getting knocked out quite a bit.
Yeah.
And he said, what do you think? I said, well, one, you need to just let it heal completely. I said, but I'm telling you, it's that helmet that's knocking you out. I said, because it's not like he's getting hit in the face. Nothing. He's hitting the ground and it's knocking him out.
Yeah.
And I said, that's coming from the helmet. Because when I quit wearing the helmet, I hardly ever just hit the ground and was knocked out after I quit wearing it. Before, I could just go to sleep. And I said, it's probably coming from that helmet. I said, but, you know, like I've told everybody, you still get hurt. I mean,
Right.
it's a bull.
Right.
They hit you hard enough in that mask, it's still going to hurt. It's going to do damage.
Yeah.
And
I was watching football last Sunday, and I pointed this out to my wife. We were sitting there watching a couple guys on the sideline headbutting each other. Like, it's not the helmets. Like, that's what they want to headbutt each other.
Yeah.
They want to hit each other in the head. You know, but they're playing football. That's why there are head injuries in football.
Well, I quit wearing my helmet. It kind of worked out eventually for me. It doesn't take me near as long to brush my teeth anymore. Not near as many of them
Your
in
tooth.
there.
What else do you have planned? I mean, do you have any other plans for your retirement outside of like trading and bucking bulls?
Yeah, they've been kind of, wanting to get me coaching maybe a team. And so I've kind of been talking about that. It's not set in stone, but
yeah,
may go that route. Just, I don't know.
How do you feel about that?
I would coach one. That's what I told him. I said, as a rider, I wouldn't have rode in it because that goes against everything I believe, bull rider wise. I when it comes to riding bulls, yeah, like I wanted my buddies to do good, but I was there for one reason, and that was to win.
Yeah.
And I was not relying on somebody else to stay on their bull to make my living.
Right.
Or vice versa.
Right.
If I stay on my bull, I don't want to be staying on my bull to make your living. And that's the only thing but then, they asked me about coaching. I said, yeah, I would be interested in doing that just because I'd want to kick everybody else's ass.
I was just going to say that it's your passion for winning.
Yeah.
It would make you just as good as a coach.
Well, that's a pretty honest reason to not do so. You know what I mean? It's not like you're just like you hate change.
Yeah, well, it had nothing to do with change. It was just my mentality towards bull riding.
Right.
I just, when they came out with it, I was like, no. They asked me if I was going to go into the draft, and I said, no, I don't agree with it. That's just not how I've went about it. It may be the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't know. And I may be missing out on it, but my mentality doesn't agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you've had a very unique mentality. Like you said, you never had to compete with somebody to pick that bull in the draft because that was the bull nobody wanted. Like you're unique and you stand out. And so it makes sense that you would have a little bit unique point of view on this. And like you said, it's not like if it works out for these guys, like that's great. Like you can both exist. You can have your opinion about how you like to rodeo.
Right.
And I do. I think it's a pretty good deal for those guys
right.
That are doing it, that are riding in it. I think it's a good deal for them because, shoot, they're getting contracts, now.
Yeah.
They're and that's what I told them. I said, look, I'm all about getting paid for my butt ever hits a bull's back,
Right.
That's awesome. But it just it wouldn't have matched for me, and
and that's all right.
Yep.
What about like, it seems like everybody's like expecting you to like do a bunch of like little stuff here and there.
Oh, man. They gave me about 2 weeks after I broke my neck, and my phone went to ringing. Oh, will you come here? Will you come there? Will you commentate this? Will you commentate that? And I'm like, every one of them. Are you interested? Yep. What's it going to take? What are you offering?
Yes.
How much does it pay?
Yes.
Well, we're not sure right now. Well, call me back when you do.
Yeah.
Quit wasting my time.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty simple. Like if you want to call me and ask me if I'll do something, have the price in your head when you call me.
Yeah.
Already nailed down. Hey, would you like to come here and do this? We'll pay you this much. It's going to be a yes or no question. We don't have to talk and, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. How you feeling for 45 minutes of my life to get to the same answer of, I don't know what we're going to pay right now. Well, call me back when you do. Quit wasting my time. I got shit to do.
Right.
And that's what I've told them. I said, it's almost like they all think I have nothing to do.
No. And
it's almost like they think I'm looking for something to go do. Like,
yeah.
If anybody's been around the house, I don't have to leave those barns. I'll stay there and be content the rest of my life working bulls every day.
You can have them call me. I
think they all call Randy.
I pay for him to wear that shirt.
They do. Every one of them call Randy.
Do they really?
Yes. He's like, I don't know why they call me. I said, because most of them are scared to talk to me, and they know you hang out with me all the time, so they call you instead. I was like, You're like my manager who doesn't get paid to be my manager.
Yeah, he's the only one that doesn't get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got an email yesterday evening as I was leaving your place, and they were like telling me this grand idea, and I've got to go to, I don't want to reveal too much, but I had to go somewhere, and they were like, and then we think it'd be really good to bring out JB. And I was like, look, that's fine, but you're going to have to pay him.
Yeah.
Like, you can offer it to him. I said, number one, he's probably not going to do it. But if he does do it, you're going to have to pay him. And it's not going to be just like a normal little appearance fee. You know what I mean? Like, and overall, like, they're fans, and you're grateful for that. And it's not like, I mean, like, that's
sure.
awesome. That's awesome.
But I mean, they have to look at the same thing, though, is for 20 years of my life, I've been going and blowing as hard as I possibly could.
Right.
You know, and now that I once I got out of that neck brace and got to pretty much live everyday life like I can now, hell, I've got to where I like it. Like, I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
So, like, if they call me and want me to do something, it's going to have to be just a little bit better than good pay to get me to leave. Because Samantha there, Jagger comes over, you see him ride that pony, and just, I mean, we're there every day. I'm always working bulls. I get to do what I want to do every single day of my life, and I don't have to leave.
Right.
No, that's the life that you worked very hard for.
Yeah.
Like, you like it.
Yeah. That's why a lot of people can't get a hold of me, because when I'm sorting them bulls, like, I'll either have my phone on silent, like, once I'm done, then I'll look at it and, you know, because, and my wife has some kind of sense about her that when I'm in the most dangerous positions you could think of, she calls me. I don't know why. I don't know how it works like that. I can be in the middle of 5 bulls that's never seen a human in their life trying to sort them on foot.
Right.
And she'll call me and want to talk about what we're going to eat for dinner. I'm like, well, unless you get off the phone, I'm probably not going to eat because these bulls are going to kill me.
So that's a whole nother podcast.
That's no, I got a email from a shoe company the other day, and nobody, I mean, it's like out there, and they were like, we'd love to work with you. I was like, well, thank you, number one, for even thinking of me. I really appreciate thinking of me. And I said, what's your budget? Like, well, we don't really have one yet. I was like, all right, well, let me know when you do. They're like, well, can you just tell us an estimate? I was like, no, I can't. You tell me what you're thinking.
I hate when they, well, what are you thinking? Well, what are you offering?
Yeah. And we went back and forth 3 or 4 times. I was so nice. I was like,
yeah,
no, ma'am, you tell me what you're thinking. They were like, well, we just don't. And I mean, like, it was like the 4th email. I was like, okay, well, I'm done talking about it. You let me know when you have a, well, then she told me. And of course it's, you know, super low. And I said, I appreciate you reaching out to me. I'm going to have to pass. And like, you're not even going to counter? And I was like, no, because my counter is going to make you think I'm a jerk and make me sound like an asshole. And, but I very much appreciate it. I really do. But some of those situations, like, I hate it when they start the conversation off, because I feel like there's no way I can get out of it without being a jerk, because they're like, well, we're doing this benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you're like,
oh, so you want me to don't? Okay. And this, they set it up,
for free.
Yeah. And it's just like, man, I, to be honest, and I'll tell them this, to be honest, like, let me just send you a check. Let me donate. And then let's call it quits, you know? Cause like, I have like some nonprofits that I give to, 3 of them. Matter of fact, one of them I gave to without knowing for a year, monthly, because I accidentally hit the toggle on the monthly give deal. I said,
I remember you telling me that.
I'm giving more than I even planned on giving to these various, you know, nonprofits.
hey, check my next email that's coming to you.
You got one?
It's going to have an email. Yeah, I have email.
Yeah.
But it's going to have a hidden
Toggle switch.
Yeah,
where
when you click delete or next or whatever, it's just you're automatically gonna start paying me
monthly give.
It's
Hey,
monthly friendship dude.
Thank you for your donation.
Smart is one thing I've never claimed to be, but anyway, like I understand. I don't get near as many of those phone calls as you do, but it's like they call and just expect.
I don't get near as many. Randy gets a lot of them. Or Samantha.
Yeah.
It's either or.
I bet they get a bunch.
Yeah. I'm trying to picture
Randy's
Samantha
like,
taking
it's
those
funny.
calls.
It's funny, Randy. I don't know
I
why
think
they
they'd
call me.
No, I think they're better off talking to you than Samantha, actually.
Probably. Yes.
Yeah. Bucktown, USA. Yeah, why would you want to leave that paradise? It's got everything because the only time you would ever leave it is to go get on bulls because you wanted to be around bulls. So like when you left Bucktown,
It was to go ride bulls.
It was to go do something with bulls. You know, it's not like you just wanted to get away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same thing with me and the beaches.
Oh, it's
The same thing. I love
such a nice quiet spot too. And you got in just before everybody rushed into this area.
Yeah, right at the tail end of
Holy
2020.
cow.
That's what everybody talks about, going on vacation. I'm like, dang. And somebody asked me, do you ever take Samantha on vacation? Yeah. Since 2015, it's been a vacation.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
When
pretty
did they-
much. I was like, somebody said, you ought to go to, Italy. I was like, didn't lose anything there.
Yep.
Like, I could care less. Everybody's like, well, what kind of sightseeing did you do? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I didn't sightsee. I'd drive from one event to the next. Just whatever I saw in that direction, I got to see. It was cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. But I didn't go out of my way to sightsee. Like, it wasn't. Some people would have, oh, man, you probably should have done that. And I probably should have a little more, but wasn't worried about it. I was going to the rodeo.
Yeah. Retirement for me, one day I could see a week of snowboarding, a week or two of hunting, maybe a little beach trip, but then cows. Messing with cows, messing with bucking horses. I mean, like 11 months of the year outside of those few trips for retirement, like I'm going to be at the house working with a horse, working with cows.
Well, and I think that's something that JB could teach everybody. I don't mean just people in the business, but have a purpose for your life that matters outside of what you do for a job. And he's found it a long time ago.
Oh, yeah. I know that's what everybody always asks. So what are you going to do when you retire? I said, mess with bulls.
Mess with bulls.
You already know.
That's all I've done my entire life.
The other thing people don't realize is like a lot of guys stop rodeoing and the sponsors stop. But then there's some names out there, J.B. Mauney, Trevor Brazil, Dale Brisby, where it's like you're a household name. And like you're able to, you've got a brand that doesn't, it's not like people are done with you. So what sponsors do you have if you want to plug them?
Oh, Monster, Yeti's hanging with me. That Total Feeds guy.
Total Feeds guy.
Yeah.
What?
No,
I turned when I got the news, when it came up on Instagram, I was sitting on the couch. Brandy sent it to me. I was sitting on the couch with my wife, and she goes, "Oh, what do you think? He's neck, who's retired." I said, "He's way more valuable to me now. Now I know he'll be alive."
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can pin him down for a podcast.
Yeah.
You ain't doing that.
That's what.
Come on up to Dale's.
That's what everybody said. You gonna be around the house? Yeah. My schedule kind of open, pretty much completely now.
Yeah. You're not. Yeah. The whole point of that is like, as a sponsor, like we've got one sitting here. Like, no. It's almost like it's just starting.
Yes, because I've been down this road, and actually, I could fill this room with all my marketing friends in the industry, and we can talk about this, how people don't know what to do with themselves when their main focus is done, and they just fade into oblivion. There's nothing left of them, and I'm like, no, JB's not like that. He's got a life. We can still make that work.
Well, and I think, again, the brand.
Yes.
It's not like,
No,
like,
this works.
To go against your Can-Am, after I broke my neck and put out that, Samantha won, and it was funny when I did that because I was sitting in a chair, had my neck brace on. I may or may not have had a pain pill in me. And I'm just on my phone over there, and I'm going, she's trying to talk to me. I was like, please just stop talking to me. Let me finish doing this. She's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm putting a post up. She said, about what? I said, me being done. She said, I don't think that's a good idea. I said, well, somebody's going to find out about it.
yeah.
and put something out there before I do, and it's not going to be the way I want to say it or how I want to say it. And
That's
I said it's going to piss me off.
That's so true.
I'm going to do it before anyone else does.
That's so true.
I did that, and a week later, Brad calls me, and he's like, "Hey, Kubota wants to re-sign you." I'm like, "Do what?" He said, "Yeah, they want to re-sign you." I was like, "They know I'm not riding." "Oh yeah, they don't care. They're re-signing you for next year." I'm like, "Perfect,
Of course.
heck yeah, this is awesome."
Yeah, let's watch JB's, turn his life into his life, not his career.
Yeah, I was sitting there. I was talking to him. I was like, "I can make this much without ever getting on the bull." I was like, "Hell dang, I should have done this a few years ago." He's like, "Really?" I was like, "No, I'm lying. I wish I was still riding bulls, but this is cool though."
Right.
So you got Monster, Yeti, Total Feeds,
Wrangler,
Kubota, Wrangler, American Hat.
Yeah.
American Hat.
He texted me. He said, "You're American Hat and your family for life."
There you go.
So I'm probably missing something.
See, now we have time for more videos, more posters on the podcast.
Bill Fick Ford.
Wrangler. They said I was Wrangler for life. And that's what Monster was. That's what Mitch told me when I decided, because I knew, their pretty much sponsorship deal was PBR. So when I decided to just go rodeo, I called him and asked him. I was like, "Hey, man, I was just going to let you know and see." I said, "I'm going to go rodeo. Instead of going to PBRs, would you still like to sponsor me?" And he said, "JB, as long as I'm working for Monster, you're a Monster guy."
There you go.
Perfect.
But there's, that's your appeal, though. JB Mauney is JB Mauney. That's it. You get what you get. So if you accept that as a sponsor, you're golden.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to be anything else.
I remember there was one that wanted to sponsor me. Had some equipment. I'm not going to name any names, but it was, like shock therapy treatment or whatever. And so they called me. They wanted to send me the machine or whatever, try it out. And I was like, "All right, cool." Well, I'm real bad. Like everybody knows, don't call me over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
Like I cannot stand being on the phone all day.
Yeah.
I'm working bulls most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, man. After about a week, I boxed it back up and sent it back to her.
Yeah.
And, "Oh, did it not work?" I was like, I don't give a shit whether it worked or not.
Yeah.
I said, "You calling me 8 times a day, texting me 12 times a day." I said, "I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
My wife doesn't even do that." I was like, "It's not worth it.
Right.
Can have it back. Thank you."
Yeah. So the message to people is it's the same JB Mauney.
Yep.
He doesn't have to do anything.
Nope.
If you'd like to do something with JB, then have a budget in mind when you reach out and give that budget to him. And if the money works, then it'll work. And even if you reach out to Randy,
Yeah.
say, "Randy, we've got $50,000 for JB to do this thing." And then he will tell JB, and JB will answer yes or no. That's what you should. That's the way to do it. If you want to work with JB, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Are you coming out to the NFR?
Oh, all 10 days.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's got a second booth in my booth upstairs.
I'll be there.
We should
the
do something.
whole time.
yeah.
I'm gonna do some. There's a couple podcasts they want me to do or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who for. Tough Cooper's mom got called and asked, and they got me signing autographs a couple nights, and stuff like
Sure.
that. And then there's a couple after parties they want me to go to.
You going to that one Kid Rock's doing? Have you talked to him?
They called me. He called me and wanted me to come to it. I just told him I'd have to figure out, make sure it's not the same time
As your other deals?
Yeah.
I think it's like during the week.
It's
like
is 13th maybe.
Yeah.
I can't.
It's like a Wednesday, Thursday, like in the middle of that second week. But
we're going to be upstairs by the stage.
Yeah.
They moved the stage upstairs. And Flint will be there every day.
Sweet.
You guys, you remember you did that together.
Yeah.
That was a really good show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flint, if you're listening,
Yeah.
she is.
Obviously, he's listening. 2.5 hours in. Yeah, well, come on out. That's also I'll have 2 booths downstairs, upstairs. Cowboy Christmas. That's where we'll have the JB merch. JB Mooney merch or RodeoTime.com.
And Jagger. Don't forget the Jagger merch.
Yeah,
That's
we got
my
some
favorite
Jagger.
t-shirt.
Yeah.
They'll be running around out there.
I got about a dozen new designs coming. So check out RodeoTime.com for.
I gotta pick my Tiffany work gloves up.
There you go.
I don't need bull riding gloves anymore. Have you ever had their work gloves?
No, I guess they got your mold of your hand or whatever. They just make you some work gloves.
You talk about
Comfortable.
mm-hmm.
It's like
the best work gloves ever.
Fits like a cotton glove, but it's leather. That's awesome.
I didn't know that. I don't know why I didn't know they wouldn't make them. You know, they make leather gloves.
Yeah.
And Cody Lambert had a pair of work gloves on, and I was looking at them. I was like, "What kind of gloves are those?" He said, "Tiffany's." I was like, "I didn't even think about that."
Dang.
So I called them and asked, and I got a couple pair of them, and they seem to disappear all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you know, because you buy them. If you're in between size medium or large, you buy them. They don't fit right. They're either loose or always in the way. Well, you know, they've got traces of your hand, and I mean, these things are
wow.
Dang, I may have to get some.
Yep.
Yeah. Not that I do all that much work, you know, but just have them.
But they look cool.
No,
they look cool,
and they feel cool.
No, you've got interns.
Yeah.
You should look into interns.
You need some.
I should, because that feed crew around my house is getting pretty wore down. It's 3 of us, me, myself, and I.
Do you really? You have a spot for one?
Yeah, I got the fifth wheel sitting there. The mobile suites is empty.
Well, if you want to be JB Mooney's intern, you want him to be a bull rider?
If he's gonna be a bull rider, he better be tough and not scared of anything.
Bull rider or not, why don't you send a video to Rodeo Time Instagram?
Don't send it to me because I probably won't see it for 6 months.
No.
Yeah, send a video to Rodeo Time Instagram. Say, I want to be JB Mooney's intern.
This is a great idea.
You need to be tough no matter what.
Yep.
But if you
and if you're scared of bulls, don't come.
Yeah.
Because I got some mean ones.
The more experience you have, the better. When you come to Dale's house, we don't mind if you have any experience. I would suggest if you're going to be JB Mooney's intern, you better have some experience.
I would also suggest, I grew up out on the prairie where I worked harvest 16 hours a day. If you don't know how to work, don't even bother. JB will have no patience for you.
But
there's work.
But there's some cool ass times. Like for instance, when you're bucking, like they get to be around the buck out. They're hanging out.
Oh,
I mean, last night we were out there and it was JB Mooney. It was Kai I know a different. My buddy Kai Fusen, Kai Hamilton, Jacobs Crawley, Mason Taylor, Fritzlin.
Oh, yeah.
Colton Fritzlin. There was half a dozen NFR, PBR finals, world champions, all the things hanging out. And so, like, had you been there, like, not only are you getting to hang out with these guys, you're getting to learn from them. You know, JB will spit some knowledge randomly.
Oh, yeah.
You could ask Kai. Like, I don't know. Like, people should pay you to work for you. No bullshit. Like, if you want,
awesome.
If you want to be a bull rider,
that's even a better idea.
Who wants to pay me to come work for me?
I'm not lying, man. Like if you wanted to be a bull rider, like you pay all this money to go to schools,
and if you can run a weed eater,
well, you're
that's
not
a
kidding.
plus also.
Yeah.
Weed eater.
No, I'm not kidding. I'm being dead ass serious. If you really want, because this is what I think. Going to a school is great.
Yep.
But you're there for 3 days. It's like drinking from a fire hose.
Yep.
And maybe you get matched up with the right kind of stock. Maybe you don't. But if you got 20 kids at a school, it's hard to match them with the right stock.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
But if you lived and worked for JB Mooney, then you get that you now becomes a lifestyle. Like he was talking about, you got to live and breathe it every day. And if a little bit of work comes along with it, my whole intern program is built around Garrison Gable. He was working for Kermit Moss, who won the average title in 1995 in the team roping.
Mm-hmm.
And Garrison said, when I leave here, they're going to have to hire somebody to do the job I'm doing, maybe even 2 people, because he worked so hard. He said, that work, I'll work all day, every day. But this knowledge I've learned from Kermit, I'm going to take it with me the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And Garrison saw it as like he was getting the better end of the deal, and he worked his ass off. And this intern program is modeled after that, because you get work is work, like whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so long as you got, and JB's going to take care of you. He's not going to let you outwork, and, you know, he's not going to let you starve if you're working your ass off for him.
No.
JB's.
No, I only eat about once a day, so.
But what I'm saying is
Yeah.
like,
Quesadillas with ketchup.
you think this whole mentality
And
we've been
Mountain Dew.
listening
Get some
to
Hot Pockets.
for 3 hours ain't going to help you with more than bull riding? You know what I'm saying? Somebody would be a fool.
Well, that's one thing. I told them about the team deals. You know, you see all the videos they put out of team workouts. I said, there will be none of that at my house.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I said, it surprises me how many guys that make it to that level, professional status level riding bulls, that absolutely have no idea to how to work a bull in the back pen.
Yeah.
Have no idea which way to swing a gate, nothing.
Yeah.
And I said, that blows my mind. You know, I wanted to be the best bull rider, so what did I do? I worked cattle, and I learned how to read cattle.
Yeah.
And just like Kai being there, he'd have the gate swung, and I'm like, think about it, Kai. That bull's a little hot right there standing in that pen.
Yep.
If you swing the gate away from him and you're standing on it, he has to come dang near 20 foot to go past you. I said, he's not going to do that. He's going to stand right there and bay up. I said, you open that gate, slip down the inside, pull the gate to you. If you're right by his eye right there, he's going to go past you way easier than trying to get him to come 20 foot to go past you.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, that makes sense. And I said, you know, it amazes me that they don't – I've told every young guy, hey, what do you think I can do to get better? I said, you got a sale barn near your house? Yeah, go get a job.
Yeah.
Learn how to read cattle. Because if you're not scared of them on the ground, you're dang sure not scared of them on their back.
That is 100% true.
Yeah.
I said, in that way, when you hit the ground, you're not in a panic. You see a lot of young guys, you know, they don't have a dang clue where that bull's at when they hit the ground. They're just running.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, just like running for their life scared. But once you learn, you can feel them. Like even when you're getting bucked off, you know which way they're going. If you know, you feel them, you can read them, you know where they're going to be at. And, you know, I was horrible at dismounts. But I knew where they were at. Like when I hit the ground, I knew whether me and Webb were getting ready to get it or not when I hit the ground. I'm like, oh, well, here it comes. Thanks, Webb.
Right.
But you're not scared of them. You're more relaxed. And
Yeah.
that just comes from being around them every day, being able to work them, read them. And when you're not scared of them on the ground, you're not scared of them on their back.
Yeah.
I call it being bull savvy is what I call it.
Yeah.
Being able to tell what that songun's going to do before he does it, you know, in them pins.
I just think that there's some kid out there that does drink concrete every morning. Like he can sack up and he's tough and he knows a little bit about bulls.
Yep.
He can show up at JB's house and say, I will outwork anybody to be here. I'll clean the toilets. I'll clean the water troughs. In the wintertime, I will work 60 hours a week to learn how to be the best bull rider in the world.
And that's the thing. Like the reason I had so much trouble keeping guys hired around there working is because, when I'm gone, it was fine because out of sight, out of mind kind of deal. But then I get home and I see how lazy they were. I see what not was, what wasn't finished, just simple, small things.
Yeah.
And then I'm there and I'm seeing them work every day. And I'm like, why am I paying them to do that when I can, I can work circles around them.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm going to stick you out there, leave you by yourself and be like, hey, here, go do this. Like I work harder than most people. Like, Stormy.
That's how you grew up.
Yeah. Stormy Wayne lived with us for a while. And everybody's like, what you and JB do? Like, y'all just hang out and just, and he's like, no. And this was before Jagger was born and stuff. And he's like, he never sleeps. He never eats. He stays in that shop working on stuff till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. He goes in there, he goes to bed. He's back up before daylight, wakes me up. He never eats. And like he said, it's nonstop all day long.
Yep.
And I'm a little better at it now because Jagger's old enough. And fortunately for me, he will not go to bed unless I'm at home. So when he has school, I have to be home by a certain time so we can eat, get the bath, get in bed, so he'll go to sleep. because if I don't, his mother gets really, really pissed at me.
Well, one other thing about Garrison, they roped every day. He worked his ass off. They roped every day. You know, Kermit made sure that, you know, it was a good exchange, and they both felt like they were getting the better end of a deal, which makes it a good deal. And that's where I think with you, it's just like somebody would be able to get on bulls as much as their ass could handle it. You'd put them on them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like Kai, he's good to have living down there now because he craves it. He wants to get on. He didn't get on yesterday because he's from Australia and 63 degrees was too cold for him. And I like jacking with him and messing with him, and he's not as bad as I make it out in the buck and shoot.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, he was at one time, but he's gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, dang, they don't have to be standing perfect.
Yeah.
And that when he got on that spotted bull that day, the way he was wadded up in there, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, he would have never called for that bull that way.
Right.
He would have fought that bull in there. And now he's like, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Just buck him.
Right.
They're going to stand up. I mean, and, you know, I've kind of told him that. I was like, quit taking so long in there. You know, just get in there, tend to business, slide up there and nod. Them bulls will stand.
Yeah.
You know, if they're not standing exactly how you want them to stand, nod your head. They will.
Right. Well, that's cool, man. I appreciate everybody listening. Appreciate the mindset that you're sharing with us. Appreciate Total Feeds bringing us the nutrition.
Oh, yeah. Jagger also appreciates that because he eats the horse feed.
He eats it straight.
Like
That's not a joke.
that is no joke.
He eats it.
I've got those locking containers, you know, that you spin and flop the little dills up.
Yeah.
So I've started putting like my little feed wagon and everything. I put them in it. So it keeps them sealed up, you know, if it rains that way, it ain't getting wet. And he knows how to open them.
Yeah.
And he'll crawl. And if I see him in the back of that side-by-side, I know what he's doing.
Like popcorn.
He opens that thing up, spins it open, and he'll
That's
just be
hilarious.
sitting back there chowing. I'm like, dude.
Knowing Dr. Harry, it's probably
That's
fine.
why he's so strong.
Yeah. But it's probably fine knowing Dr. Harry.
Yeah.
Like he's probably, but, well, if he gets 8 pounds of it, he doesn't need hay. We know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he won't tie up.
Yeah. Well, this whole podcast has been mindset. Usually we end with a motivational quote. Do you have a specific quote you live by?
I don't know.
Nobody remembers 85-point bull rides.
Kind of like the way I took my rap. I'd rather drag to death than starve to death.
That's it, man. That's going on a shirt. I'd
Yeah.
rather drag to death than starve to death.
That's a great one.
Dang. We'll end it there. You got anything, Corey?
I can't top that.
Hey, if y'all want to be if you want to work for JB, intern, whatever you want to call it, get on bulls, you know, bring your riding britches and be ready to work hard, but send a video to Rodeo Time Instagram and we'll get you fixed up. If you want the JB merch, check out rodeotime.com. Thank you, my man. We're on to the next one.
Yes, sir.
Bye, pal.
Welcome, JB Mauney, to the Rodeo Time Podcast. Hey, if you're interested in XV Ranch apparel, JBDB apparel, the Mauney Zone t-shirts, we've even got a few posters that he signed that are left. Go to rodeotime.com. And as this podcast is releasing, we're starting Black Friday. So it's going to run from now until Cyber Monday. So for a whole week, the first week this podcast is out, it's buy one, get one on rodeotime.com. You buy a cap, you get a cap, and you get to pick the free item. You buy 5, you get 5, and you get to pick the free 5. So check out rodeotime.com, get your JB Mauney apparel along with Rodeo Time apparel. And we'd like to thank our sponsors, American Hat, Total Feeds, that JB and I share, along with my other sponsors, Can-Am, Side by Side, Rock and Roll Denim, we love that Reflex, and Mountain Ops Supplements. We'd like to thank all those guys for bringing you this podcast with JB Mauney.